Hello, good evening, and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to an all-new season of racing here at the Sim Racing Collective. That's right, we are back once again, ladies and gentlemen, with the embers having recently gone out from our Porsche Cup Championship that was absolutely ecstatic and brilliant from lights out to checker flag in each and every round of racing. We are back once again today to bring you an all-new season of racing. And here we are in Spain, our season opening round at the Circuit de Barcelona-Catalunya. But what exactly is this season going to be all about? Well, many of you may remember the Japanese Spirit one-off event that we held approximately 2 months ago, focused very heavily on the Toyota GR86 Cup car, a car added to iRacing only a couple of years ago, and focused very heavily, of course, on the real-life Toyota Gazoo Racing North America GR Cup car, which at the very core of the single-make series that is going for its 4th season as a 2026, and indeed a very popular series in the real world, and a very popular racing car, and indeed online series in iRacing, and it's easy to understand why. A 2.4-litre box engine machine with 230 brake horsepower at the rear wheels, front engine rear wheel drive, an easy car to learn, a very difficult car to master, and therefore whilst the speeds may not be as exhilarating as in our Porsche Cup cars, indeed we're halving the horsepower, but we're doubling the fun here. We're an absolutely packed grid throughout the season, and you can expect the excitement is going to run from all the way from the season start all the way to the very end as we get things underway today. But where exactly are we in Spain at the Circuit de Barcelona-Catalunya? Well, we're near the town of Montmello, and this circuit, of course, a staple of European race, if not global racing, playing host on an annual basis to many a pre-season test event and also many a Grand Prix or race round in the series, where it be Formula 1, GT World Challenge Europe, you name it, it races here. But our drivers are not going to be taken to its full layout today as we get things underway. They're going to be taken to the national layout, focused on the second and third sectors of the full racing circuit. It's a 1.85 mile course with 11 corners. It cuts off the run down the start-finish straight very early on and emerges back out at turns 6 and 7 when you do make your way onto the Grand Prix layout. But that means that this is going to be a circuit that's very heavily focused on the twists and turns of the Spanish countryside. And as our drivers make the way around here, they're definitely going to need to be brash, they're going to need to be brave, and make sure they get their elbows out there when they do go racing with others, because this circuit does offer plenty of two-wide moments, and that's why it's the brilliant place to get things underway. But where are my manners? Allow me to formally welcome you to this broadcast live from circuit side, as you tune tonight, the one only place you can catch all the racing action for this season. There's of course on our official YouTube channel. Go to youtube.com and search for TSRC or the Sim Racing Collective, and you can be catching all the racing action from each round of racing on a weekly basis. And make sure you subscribe today so that you can stay up to date with all of our latest broadcasts, because of course we're kicking off an all-new season today of the GR Cup, but in 2 days time as well we are unveiling our Tin Top Championship as well, and there's never been a better time to be a subscriber of the Sim Racing Collective YouTube channel. In the content review of this series you have myself, my name is Paul Walsh, and I'm initiated, and it's so good to be back, and a huge thank you to the Sim Racing Collective for giving me the opportunity to cover this series. And I promise you one thing, ladies and gentlemen, if I have a voice left by the end of each round, then I haven't done a good enough job, so I'm probably going to lose my voice at this rate, much like in the Porsche Cup. But as we make our way into tonight, where's exactly our schedule? Times in UK times, so therefore that's British Summer Time, BST, or Universal Coordinate Time +1, UTC +1. And as we can see, in approximately 1.5 minutes' time, we're making our way into our first qualifying session of the season. 10 minutes in duration, 3 laps for each driver there, and that's due to get underway at 8:05 this evening, after which we'll make our way to the grid at what is 8:15 for the first of our 2 races, with each round being made up of a 15-minute sprint race and a 30-minute feature race. But after our sprint race of 15 minutes, we will be taking a brief breather, having a 3-minute warm-up interlude period at 8:30 approximately, after which we'll head to the grid for our second and final race of the day at 9:25, where we double the race distance, but we maintain the feel and indeed the theme of excitement all the way through. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's bring you up to speed with this season, indeed what's lying in store for today. So we see our calendar here, and we should give a huge shout out as we make our way into this calendar to the sim racing community of oNiD. Now, many of you may be aware of the fact that recently on SimGrid, which is at the core of our operations in terms of hosting series on iRacing and other simulator platforms here at the Sim Racing Collective, that the SimGrid has recently introduced a collaboration feature. And we thought, given the fact that we've had good relationship with oNiD in previous times, that we'd formally collaborate with them on this series. So a huge thank you to oNiD for making this series possible, and we're very glad to be collaborating with them, and that is why this is known as the TSRC Collaboration with oNiD GR Cup, and we're very excited to be going racing alongside them. You'll see many of their community members on the grid, as well as some familiar faces from the Sim Racing Collective, and also given the popularity of the GR86 Cup car and iRacing, you're going to see plenty of fresh faces on the grid, and therefore with a grid of almost 40 drivers there split into Pro and Am classes, there's plenty of excitement to be had. But where exactly will we be having the excitement beyond Spain today? Well, this is going to be our season opener here at the Barcelona circuit. In a week's time, on what will be the 13th of April, today is of course the 6th of April, it's Easter Monday, but in a week's time we put the Easter Bunny to bed, and we're making our way to Germany for the Hockenheimring National A-Layout there. Again, another domestic cup racing course. Then we'll be making our way down under to Australia for round number 3, and it'll be the Adelaide Street circuit that welcomes our drivers on the 20th of April, and that'll complete the first half of the season. Then we make our way all the way across the Pacific Ocean to America, but specifically the mecca of road racing in the country, the revival place of post-war road racing. It'll be at the Watkins Glen International Circuits Cup course on the 27th of April, and then we barrel our way into May, the 5th month of 2026, for the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit in the United Kingdom, before bringing the curtain down by going back to the US of A to do the Texas two-step of the NASCAR West Layout of the Circuit of the Americas, or COTA in short, where track limits are going to be questionable, but the excitement's going to be absolutely unstoppable, and we'll be crowning our champions in the Pro and Am classes there. But as we come into today, well, let's talk a little bit more specifically about our host circuit. It is, of course, the Circuit de Barcelona-Catalunya's national layout, located near Montmeló in Barcelona in the Catalonian region of Spain. Indeed, we are in a town that's part of the wider city of Barcelona, but in the Catalonian state there, of which Spain made up of many, and we are towards the northeastern edge of the Spanish country. But this circuit, and a huge thank you to iRacing.com, not just the brilliant simulator that brings it to life, but the track maps as well, which enable us to articulate its layout. Well, as we can see here, as our drivers roar the way around, it really is full of curves, sweepers, chicanes, and hairpins, and also a mixture of straights. And while those straights, of course, the long run down towards turn number 1, but we circumvent the traditional Grand Prix right-ins left by going straight into a 180-degree elongated hairpin, after which we come through TV3 at turns 2 and 3. Left into right uphill they go towards turn number 4, where the off-camera right-hander will upset those who pick up oversteer, understeer, and those who pick up some oversteer, well, they may end up going spinning out of the corner, but get it right, and they'll power their way down towards like a hairpin at turn number 5. Hard on the brakes they'll go into the very sharp hairpin, and they'll be uphill through turns 6 and 7 before winding their way through Eurocar corner at turn number 8, and coming down the hill in towards the chicane of RACC at turns 9 and 10, before rolling the way through Catalunya Bend at turn number 11, and that will be a quick fire lap of this circuit. Now, before we go racing as well, a quick reminder of the rules. Indeed, if you haven't read on them, and you're perhaps new here today, so let's give you an overview of those rules. In fact, setup-wise, this is a fixed setup series, and car fuel loads will be restricted to 30 litres. What that means is, we're expecting we've got fuel tanks in the cars to complete the race without a pit stop, but most importantly, everyone is driving an equal car. They cannot adjust the car. They are all in equal machinery. It will come down to the driver. Qualifying, which has just got underway, is a closed format, so therefore it means all drivers will go out onto an isolated instance of the circuit. They do not see their rivals, and they have peace and quiet to be able to set their qualifying laps, which they have the out lap plus 3 flying laps available to them. When we do go racing, the races shall commence via a rolling start, as is an edition of Toyota GR86 Cup Car Racing, and the grid for the sprint race shall be set based on qualifying. That's a given. And when we go to the feature race, we go to the 30-minute race later in the day, we set it based on the results of the sprint race, but we invert the top 10 finishing positions. So what that means in English is that those who finish inside the top 10, they'll see the positions inverted. The winner for the sprint race starts in 10th place of the feature. The driver who finished in 10th place in the sprint starts on pole position for the purposes of the feature. And those who finished 11th and downwards, you guessed it right, that's exactly where they'll start for the second race of the day. And each driver has one fast pair available should they need it, and they shall receive a drive-through penalty if they accumulate 70 more instant points. Meanwhile, all race shooting shall be conducted post-round. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's make our way back to circuit side, because qualifying is definitely underway. And let's say how all of our drivers are getting on here as they start at their first laps of the day. Indeed, 3 minutes into qualifying already, and those flying laps are starting to go away, as we do see Jamie Nuttall making his way across the line. Martin Blankenstein's on your screen, we should point out, and well, his first lap there being an invalid one, so he's got a bit more work to do as he rolls his way around. Track limits are definitely going to be a bit of a theme here. Now, don't be shy. If you are in the YouTube chat, do feel free to say hi. We don't bite here. The only biting you will see is biting on the brakes, at which point the driver's ABS systems will take over and make sure we don't see any major lockups. But we do have 2 classes on the grid for the purposes of this season. We have your pros, as denoted by the likes of Martin Blankensteiner, and also current provisional pole sitter overall in class of Craig Twardock. And how you know your pros, when the timing's out and on our overlay graphics that you'll see on your TV screen, they will have the gold door number against them, essentially, the gold background to their door number, which you see that for Twardock in the number 200 car. You can also tell, because they do have across the front windscreen, they have the window strip, which will be in a gold colour. Meanwhile, if you look to your AMs, the drivers who are perhaps not as experienced in in terms of their iRacing skills and also their abilities behind the car, and also the GR86 Cup car. They will have the silver strip across the top, of the whitish strip, as you can see it on here right now, for Adam Gillenburg as he roars his way on through. And the Swede here right now will roll his way around in number 18, and also you can tell that in the time tower as well, because they do have the white-silver background. So that's how you denote who's in which class, and drivers will be scoring points based on their class finishing position, not their overall finishing position. So therefore, the aim of the game is to beat your class peers. Dealing with drivers in other class, we need to get past them perhaps at some point, but you've got to be tactical about how you deal with them. But as we do see Kieran Sharp, he currently sets the provisional pole time now at what is a rather staggering 1 minute 20.14. Well, Graham Hamlin goes up to second place. Indeed, everyone's trying to find some time out there, as we do say hello to Dave Barnes, who says 100% I have the best livery. Well, we do go to look for that livery. And, well, the Monster Energy machine there, definitely in a pink by the looks of things. I think that's Monster Energy on the car. Well, he's definitely giving off monstrous vibes as he roars wound down. And you know what? That livery is pretty smashing. I'm not going to lie. But with half the qualifying session still to go, and keep in mind drivers have 3 flying laps available, plus the out lap. Therefore, some drivers will be taking their time in qualifying, including oNiD's own Aidan Howard right now as he rolls his way down the hill and into the RACC chicane. This chicane introduced, of course, in the mid-noughties to try and encourage overtaking in the likes of Formula 1, but it actually had the opposite effect due to the amount of aero on the cars, and therefore the chicane has not been that popular, and that's why it's gradually been removed from several series over the course of its extensive history, this circuit. But still, the Circuit de Barcelona-Catalunya, while the circuit's still very popular with drivers, given the fact that it has a little bit of everything, but also no 2 days here are the same, because it's a very open circuit. That means the direction of the wind has a huge influence on exactly how the circuit plays out in reality when you're driving around it. But right now, Aidan Howard currently down in 20th place. That's 11th in AM, and we're trying to find a bit more time out there on his penultimate flying lap. As meanwhile, Kieran Sharp still on top at the moment, and well, his best has been a 20.01. That was his previous best. Meanwhile, Tom Davidson and jumps up to the very top. Here he comes across the line. And well, an absolute monstrous lap there for the Speed Hunters machine. And that is going to be provisional pole. It's 1 minute 19.99. Can anybody find a way to dethrone that lap? Well, Janos Wenzel tries to, but he pushes a bit too hard there, coming out of turn number 3. And that's going to cost him dear, as Kyle Morby there now sets the benchmark at the very top, a 19.95. They're all going quicker and quicker out there, and this is absolutely staggering to behold. But to be fair, I think we're on to an absolutely golden qualifying session at the moment. This could really be the tone of the season. And well, as he makes way on through, Kyle Morby definitely right now setting that benchmark quite comfortably behind. Davidson cannot improve. He has used up all his allotted laps. Kieran Sharp right now is on a cool-down lap. Meanwhile, Danny Morris off camera has gone around. But as we do see Aidan Howard come towards the timing line, let's jump on board with him for a flying lap, ladies and gentlemen. He's making his way down towards turn at number 1, moving his way up to 26th place now, and gets ready for the opening bend here. And well, looks to his left-hand side, and his brake mark will be coming up. In 3, 2, 1, onto the brakes he goes, braking about 140 meters from corner apex, trail braking down to second gear, and keeping nice and tight to apex curve so he can keep the car over to the right to open up turn number 2. Left into right he goes here, mount the curve as much as you dare, not too high though, as it will spit the car out with understeer. Gets it right, now in towards turn number 4. A difficult corner this one, dab the brake or lift off the throttle, either your choice, but make sure the weight is pitched forward on the nose of the car, so that way it does not understeer too aggressively and the car naturally wants to hook up on the front axle. Now down towards turn at number 5 he comes, in towards Makake's a hairpin, looks his right there, braking at the 100 meter board all the way down to first gear, and as he exits out the corner, he'll now make his way uphill through turns 6 and 7. Left into right he goes, chopping the first curb, and now getting ready to brake, and does so down to the second gear. Hold, wait for it, now feed the throttle in, avoid the understeer, and gradually come through, and now downhill it all goes through turn number 8. Understeering a little bit wide of apex there, but he'll get it back together before he brakes hard underneath the gantry, going in towards the RACC chicane at turns 9 and 10. Now out the corner, mount the sausage curb to settle the car down, and roll it through turn number 11 at Catalunya Bend to complete the lap. And what's it going to be for Aidan Howard? He has had a slightly better lap compared to his previous by looks of things, but we'll see as he comes towards that timeline. The answer is going to be, and in the end, is he going to improve? Is he not going to improve? And well, it does seem as though he does not improve in the end, unfortunately. He did improve in the middle sector, but his final sector was nothing to shout about, with the understeer coming through turn number 8 just costing him some time. But meanwhile, Kyle Morby, as he calls on down, well, this qualifying session is almost complete, ladies and gentlemen. I don't think anybody else can improve out there. We've got 30 drivers in attendance today out of our 37 entrants this season, so the majority have made it. And well, with that in mind, it does mean we're going to have a very packed grid. And whilst we do see Kyle Morby making his way on through, he's definitely going to be your pole sitter for our first race of the day. And well, Martin Blankensteiner, meanwhile, down there in 11th place. He won't be too upset about that, but understandably, when we do normally see him towards what is the upper end of the field, I think you feel as though 11th place right now doesn't quite fill the upper end, even though it is given the theory here. And he is one of our pro drivers, and he's going to be surrounded by AMs, particularly behind him Bart Raven, and in front of him none other than what will be Adam Gillenboy. And I do apologise if I'm butchering a few of our newer names to the grid at the Sim Racing Collective. Of course, there's always plenty of pronunciations out there, but I'll do my best to fix them. And of course, our drivers will be very wary of the fact that if they need to correct us, I'm sure they'll let us know in the commentary booth after the round, and we'll get it fixed for the next round. But as Blankensteiner rolls his way down the hill, well, he's on a cool-down lap here. And definitely right now just taking it nice and easy, getting as much time and practice in as he dares. As meanwhile, Janos Venz will run on down the hill. And your 313 driver here in the default livery machine, the classic GR North America livery car. Coming out to the corner there and making his way towards the timeline. This is not going to be an improvement. I think this is just really a reconnaissance lap here to see if he can find a little bit of extra time. And it's completely understandable for these drivers. Sometimes they just want to do that little bit of extra research and just see what else they can potentially put together. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, 10 seconds left on the clock, and that can only mean one thing, and that will mean the qualifying is definitely complete. And with that, well, we're about to make our way to the grid for the first of our 2 races, because we've got 2 races coming up. First up, of course, is a 15-minute sprint. Who exactly is going to be taking the victory? Let's find out. And so as our drivers make the way onto the grid, this is how they'll line up for the first of our 2 races today. On pole position, taking the first pole position of the season, it is Kyle Morby, the privateer. Joining on the front row is going to be Tom Davidson for the Sim Racing Collective Esports. Behind them, on row at number 2, it's going to be the pairing of Kieran Sharp for TSRC and Cracked Racing's Jamie Nuttall. Old flames and rivals once again, with Sharp beating Nuttall in the Porsche Cup Championship in the previous season. And we look forward to seeing how it's going to play out between them here. And keep in mind, of course, the Sim Racing Collective Esports are your defending teams champions from the Porsche Cup Series. So therefore, there's a lot on the line here. Guillaume Hamling starts in 5th place for Cracked Racing, just ahead of Sim Racing Collective Esports is Craig Twardock. And then we see on row number 4, it's going to be Janos Venzel, the privateer, just ahead of Sarah Dove. The privateer is then going to be followed up by Kieran O'Reilly, who starts 9th today for MSA Racing, just ahead of Adam Gillenboy. And then from the Swede in the privateer machine, it's going to be Martin Blankenstein, who starts 11th for Cracked Racing. Bart Raven completes your top 6 rows there in 12th place for Cracked Racing, just behind. And well, a big shout out there, of course, to your pole sitter of Gillenboy, taking that pole position in the end ahead of Bart Raven, who lines up directly behind him on the grid. And the difference between the 2 of them being the best part there of 900, I should say, so quite close, no doubt about it. Outside of the top 12, starting in 13th place, it's going to be FC Lamb, and well, he'll then be joined on that 7th row of the grid by the machinery of Yuri Shura, and the Dutchman then be followed up by David Haynes, the privateer, and then it will be Finlay Secker, who starts in 16th place. James Stone Radford starts 17th today. Now there's a bit of work to be done there for the boss machine, but he will be ahead of none other than Matt Smith for Cracked Racing. And then we do have Lenny Hansen for Wheelchair Racing, just ahead of Stefan Hutter for Cracked Racing. That's your top 20. 21st, it's going to be Harry Mason there. He'll try and go forward as quickly as he can, just ahead of Thomas Lowe. And then we do have Mark Pez, the South African driver, starting 23rd ahead of David Barnes for Buy Around Racing. Now that doesn't make you buy a drink, I don't know what does, but meanwhile, going to your 13th row of the grid, it's going to be Tony Preston on his debut ahead of Aidan Howard for Only Community Racing. Then we do see Gareth Ronda starting 27th for Cracked Racing ahead of none other than New Gazali, and the Italian driver there will be around off your penultimate row of the grid. And starting on that final row of the grid, it is going to be the combination of Danny Morris, the privateer, and FD Racing's Luke Smith, not setting a bad lap time. And well, I wonder if there's a technical issue with the car there for Luke Smith, because he's not on the grid at the moment, and he is the last driver to make his way into position, as also will be Kieran Sharp. So we're just waiting for 2 cars to make the way onto the grid, but we're almost ready to go here, ladies and gentlemen. This formation lap almost ready to get underway, but you can see right now all these drivers absolutely itching to go as we jump aboard with the pole sitters car of Kyle Morby. And well, he'll be very pleased with how he's qualified, but he'll know there is work to be done here, and well, he's going to be looking forward rather than backwards. He gets ready to go. And the team that I refer to as the boss, in fact, it's the Dogs there. I do apologise for that. We'll get that fixed with regards to pronouncing that team's name. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, as everyone gets set and ready to go, well, the gridding procedure is complete, and now we're on the partial formation lap here as they all get ready to pull away. As our formation lap starts to roll, well, Kyle Morby here definitely following, and Tom Davidson with him. Now, these 2, of course, start on the very front of the field. They'll be very grateful for that. They've got clear track in front of them, whereas further behind, if you do look to the likes of FC Lamb, well, There's definitely going to be a fault here for your driver in the GRS machine, whereby he's going to have to fight his way through. And given he's one of the pro drivers out there, he's going to be starting, and will be the 6th row of the pros. There's a lot of fighting to be done there if he wants to score some big points. But as the field winds its way through, they don't get too much time to try and warm up the tyres here. Indeed, limited time available. It's all now going to be about getting a really good start here on cold tyres and cold brakes into turn number 1. The field all comes on down and through, and with that, ladies and gentlemen, as they all now queue up into the last couple of corners, it's the Kyle Morby to take us to the green for 15 minutes of racing. And without further ado, the TSRC with oNiD GR Cup gets underway for 2026 on iRacing as Kyle Morby leads the field down towards turn number 1 here at the Circuit de Barcelona-Catalunya. Tom Davidson getting a good start, but look at them all fanning out immediately. 3 wide at the front of the field as they go into that braking zone. Kieran Sharp and Jamie Nuttall exchanging blows. They roll the way through the corner, and the whole field right now all covered on through. Everyone's safely into the opening bend, but they all execute it perfectly. It looks like they do as they all coming out as we say hello to Ben 22 Racing. But right now, our faults has got to be right on the front of the field as a few drivers make their way up the hill. We've had a bit of a moment, I do believe, for Gillen Boyd, the pole sitter in the AM class. He's fallen a long way down the field. We'll get a replay of that when we can. But all these drivers rolling on out at the moment, and well, David Haynes is side by side as he makes his way up towards the next braking zone. But as he does, Bart Raven just a little bit further behind there, and right now Raven going to and fro, and it looks like side by side there. But Raven into your AM lead. 2 wide, they come in towards the left-hander at turn number 5. But right now, David Haynes and Kieran O'Reilly enjoying a good little ding-dong battle here for position as they head up the hill. But O'Reilly will go to inside to outside there. Haynes tries to get his nose back in, he will do so. So lovely bit of work there from David Haynes to keep the fight going in towards the right hand of turn number 8, and down the hill they go. At this point, David Haynes surely has got to be ahead going into the chicane, as we do see Finlay Secker now looking for an opportunity here. Can he go for the move? The answer is going to be no. He tries to, but he runs out of road there as they clear the chicane and on to another lap. But after 1 lap of racing, Kyle Morby's already trying to bolt away here at the stable. 7.5 tenths clear of Kieran Sharp with Jamie Nuttall completing the top 3. Tom Davidson is in 4th ahead of Craig Tardock, followed by Gwillam Hamling in 6th place. And Hamling right now being pushed along by his teammate Blankensteiner for crack racing, as we do see Sarah Dove there tucking in behind. And I do believe Sarah Dove right now running a tribute livery there to an old prototype, the Minolta Toyota prototype machine that raced in the Group C category equivalent in the 90s, unless I'm mistaken. And well, I'm sure somebody will correct me about that, but that livery does look very familiar there, and that belongs to a much older car. And it's great to see that livery being kept alive. But as we do see Janos Wenzel in 9th place behind, and David Haynes completing the top 10. What about your leader in the AM class? There he is, it's Bart Raven at the moment. And then we've got Lenny Hansen just a bit further behind us. Raven is being swarmed by Stone Radford. And then we have Harry Mason completing the top 3 of the AMZ and the HKS machine, the Dogs machine, as he rolls his way onwards with Mark Pizer giving chase. But we've got several cars in the pit lane due to damage picked up on the opening lap. So it's been a bit of a nightmare moment for a few drivers. We'll get a replay of that when we can. But right now we're staying focused on what's happening in live action, as we do see 2 wide here. Stone Radford trying to go all the way around the outside on the Sonic the Hedgehog machine. And will it go past, or will it go to the Dogs? And the answer is no, unfortunately, it doesn't go to the Dogs. And in the end, that's going to be a mistake from Lenny Hansen. And Bart Raven gets back ahead of him there. And well, Hansen made an error for wheelchair racing. Runs deep, runs wide. And well, that's going to enable Stone Radford to get back alongside and clear him. And Hansen had got ahead and now falls backwards there. So chop and change in the front of the AM class. Hold up a second. Who's that going across the road? I think that is none other than the machinery there of, I want to say, well, I believe that's a lap down car getting it wrong. That was David Barnes there, having to take a bit of a escape route, if you will, and David Barnes definitely being liberal with the usage of the blue flag. But meanwhile, back towards the very front of the field we go, and as we do, Kieran Sharp still fighting with Kyle Morby and also Tom Davidson here. But look at this pack right now. That is your top 5 all glued together, and Kieran Sharp at the head of it now trying to break away. But Morby will not let that happen no matter what happens today. But we look back from your leader, trying to open up the gap as much as he possibly can. I think he's going to be feeling confident right now is Sharp. The fact that being the lead car, this is where he normally likes to be in pack racing, whether it be MX-5s or GT4s. Porsche Cup cars a little bit too quick for pack racing perhaps. If there's a long pack of cars, Sharp normally likes to be the lead car in it. He feels they can control the pack a little bit more comfortably compared to being one of the middle runners. Of course, Kyle Morby will now need to show how he fares when he's not the lead car in the sequence. Does he feel confident with that, or is he one of those drivers who prefers to be right at the front? Well, we'll have to wait and see as the long line of cars makes its way in towards the chicane once again, but nobody dares to go for a move here when you've got your top 11 separated by only 4 seconds. So you do the mathematics here. That's 4 attempts between car to car. It's very close, and Kieran Sharp right now being pushed along down the start-finish straight, but Kyle Morby right behind. They're going to lap number 4 here. These laps are very quickly queuing up as we see Morby looking for the move, trying to take the lead back here. This is going to be a bit more of a conventional overtake. It's more of a to me to you rather than I'm going to fight you moment. And Kieran Sharp knows he needs to work right now with Morby in order to make sure the two of them lead the way. Later in the race, you'll see the fights. Meanwhile, Lenny Hansen and Harry Mason have got ahead of Bart Raven. The AM class right now is absolutely blown wide open as well. So whilst the pros at the very front of the field are enjoying a brilliant battle, the same can be said here for the AMs. There's fighting everywhere you look, and David Barnesind, after rejoining the road, well, he's at the back of this group right now, enjoying getting right into the scrap there, number 27, and the round racing machine, the Monster Energy car, right now trying to go on the attack, as Matt Smith, meanwhile, a bit further behind for Cracked Racing, also wants to try and get involved where he can, but will he be able to do so? We'll have to wait and see as they make their way down into this braking zone. As they do, Barnes is still side by side, and well, under braking these two together quite comfortably. Oh, there's contact there, and that is going to be Shearer not Shearer in contact with him. It was none other than, I do believe, Gareth Ronda in contact there with Dave Barnes, and Barnes being ejected out there by the Pennzoil Super Touring machine, and will roll on his way onwards right now. The Cracked Racing car, as it's properly known, but Pennzoil being the livery there on the car, a tribute, of course, to the GT500 Nissan Skyline of old and the JGTC in the 1990s. Well, right now Gareth Ronda up into the top 5 of the AM class, but that's not the way he wanted it to go whatsoever. But when you're racing that close, small mistakes can have big consequences. Meanwhile, consequences of the back and forth fight in the front means that Sharp's now back ahead of Morby going on to lap number 5, but these two are once again very close together as further back. And Craig Tardock trying to go round the outside there to hold off Jamie Nuttall, but Nuttall gets ahead of the Sim Racing Collective eSports driver in his monster machine, and Neil Graham Hamling and Martin Blankensteiner queue up behind. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a quick look back at some of the big moments from the start of this race, including the race start. So this is how we went green flag racing. I can tell you one thing, Kyle Morby left it as late as humanly possible to go, but to be fair, understandably, with the shortest run down towards turn number 1, but they all made the way onwards. We look to the blimp view there, and with 30 drivers getting underway, that's the best part there of 6,000 horsepower on its way down towards the opening braking zone, and everyone did a brilliant job. You see a few drivers backing off further back, and as they all concertinaed together into that braking zone, 4 wide there, Bart Raven right in the midst of it all, and then where did it go wrong for our AM class pole sitter? And there it was. He was caught up in contact with the oNiD racing machine. That turned him around subsequently. Oh, goodness me. Not the way we wanted to go. And an oNiD double barrel there for Gillen Boy. And the privateer getting knocked around. And, well, I think there was a bit more to it than meets the eye. This is what it looked like from further down the road with him, as he found himself right in the midst of it all. Ran a little bit deep, and it was side by side there. And, unfortunately, contact saw him go around with, I believe that's the oNiD number 36 car there, unless I'm mistaken, of Yuri Schurer, and well, those two coming together. And unfortunately for Aidan Howard, he happened to be in the right place at the wrong time to be collected. This is what it looked like from none other than Aidan Howard's perspective. As we jump back to his car, he was further down the order. He'd survived nicely on the outside of turn 1, and suddenly the sea's going to part in front of him. What's he going to discover? Oh, it's Gillen Boy's car right in the middle of the road. He had nowhere to go at that point. The yellow flags would not have been seen or heard, and for Howard, unfortunately, that was not the way he wanted it to go whatsoever. We also did have this for Thomas Lowe. This was Low after that altercation. The privateer making it about the hill. I think a few cars there having to go a bit slowly as they put up speed. And unfortunately, they're Low being collected with the Verstappen.com car. Oh my goodness! And in the end, that was sure having it go even worse for him. And Aidan Howard as well. So the oNiD racing team definitely having a nightmare start to the day. I do believe that was none other than Noah Ghazali. And unfortunately, the privateer there, he was in the Verstappen.com car and he was collected there. He was turned onto the path of what was Thomas Lowe. And that explains it all there. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, well, we come back to your live racing. But as we do, of course, we'll get replays of action where we can, but we also need to stay focused on what's happening in real time. Right now, the reality of the situation is we've still got plenty more fighting to go, as we've got just under half this race remaining. And as all these drivers weave and wind the way through, well, Kyle Morby right now still your leader and very much in control. As Kieran Sharp, well, he's fallen back a little bit. 1.2 seconds is the gap now, but whilst it is 1.2 seconds at this time, we've still got that long queue of cars queuing up behind. Hold up a second, that's going a little bit wrong there, and that is because we do have a lap down car in the form of Aidan Howard there stepping aside, and the privateer there making sure not to get too involved. And meanwhile, just tucking in behind that is going to be Sarah Dove, who are right now in the 501 car, definitely playing the game of patience. Patience is the virtue. And meanwhile, James Stone Radford, he's fallen all the way down. He's had a bit of a moment somewhere. I'll try and get a replay of that when we can. We've also got a yellow flag for Finlay Secker, I should say. Let me get his name right. And well, that'll be a slowdown penalty that he's having to serve due to track limits. But as David Haynes battles side by side here with SC Lamb, Lamb falls back a little bit. Haynes gaining the place there. And right now, the GRS car will queue up behind Haynes' privateer machine. The lime green machine, you can't miss it. There's red stripes through the middle of it. But Haynes right now fighting for 11th place. But remember, the important position, if you can't win the race, then we do see the most important place is 10th place, because that's where pole position will be taken from in race number 2. And right now, Kieran O'Reilly, the MSA racing driver here, could definitely be making pole position very quickly. On his way through what is turn number 1, well, he'll be looking to get a bit closer to Dove in front. And if you finish second, well, if you finish 9th in this race, you'll be picking up 2nd place in the grid for the 2nd race a day. That's not a bad thing either, to be fair. It's not always about finishing 10th. As long as you finish towards the front row of the next race, that could be just as valuable. And indeed, you'll sacrifice the loss of some points in this one to gain a better opportunity in the next one. Looking further back to the AM class here, Gareth Ronda, Mark Pezza, Matt Smith and Danny Morris. They're all together, albeit not in that order. It is Pezza right now who is the lead car as he makes his way out of turn number 3 and up the hill towards 4. World South African driver has started 8th in class and very happy right now being 5th in the category. A 1.5 second gap to Shura, who's up the road from him. So right now I think he's going to go defensive all the way to the very end of this race. And well, I don't blame him for that. There's going to be a lot of pressure on before this race is said and done. Coming through the left-hander at turn number 5. You can see that Smith and Morris all queuing up here. They're getting closer and closer. They're getting more and more tempted by a move. Gareth Ronda, of course, in quite a damaged car at that contact we saw earlier on. And therefore Ronda might be losing a little bit of straight line speed or cornering capacity. But then again, I don't think Ronda knows to stop. I think he only knows one thing, which is go for it. And to be fair, that's what Cracked Racing are all about. They're an absolute crack squad of drivers, and they give it everything they can. No matter how bad a day they're having, they keep on pushing. And that's why Ronda's getting closer and closer as we ride aboard the front bumper camera of your 230. And here he goes then in the draft. Now, will he look for the bump draft? He will not. He's going to come to the inside. So therefore it'll be too wide now as they head on down the battle of 5th place Am. Ronda on the inside in towards turn number 1, but of course this is not the final lap as we are just behind him there. That is going to be the car of Matt Smith queuing up to get involved in the fight, but Ronda here on the inside rolls his way out of turn number 1, gets the move done there, smooth move. But now Pezza, Smith and Morris will queue up once again. But from there back to the very front, and we can see that Carl Morby still leading, gap a second. It has come down by 2 tenths to Kieran Sharp. Sharp's at the purple best lap of the race last time out. And indeed, a 23 car really pushing on at the moment. But he's still got a lot more work to do versus Tom Davidson. And Davidson, well, he's got the pressure behind him with Jamie Nuttall, Craig Twildot and Gwellam Hamling. And that is a long queue of cars again as they all hop and skip their way over the sausage curb. Davidson getting a little bit unsettled by it, causes the car to go deep into Catalunya Bend. And that's going to enable Nuttall to get ahead. Now there's also a little bit of tactics going on here, because the fact of the matter is the length of this start finish straight, whilst it's not the full extremity of the Grand Prix circuit, it's long enough that you'll pick up a perfect toe. And here comes a free one as Craig Toddock up the inside here, so he's going to go up the inside. Can he get a 2-for-1 special here? Well, he's going to rub paint with Jamie Nuttall, and Davidson backs out immediately. Twildok side by side still with Nuttall. He goes for it, but now Jamie Nuttall jumps back ahead there, and Martin Blankenstein, watch, oh goodness me, and that was Craig Toddock almost losing it coming out of the corner. And as they make their way in towards turn number 4, well, Twildok in the end bouncing off of the sausage curb, and Davidson being just elbowed down a little bit. And here comes Hammerling, here comes Blankenstein, the Cracked Racing drivers right now in the very notable yellow and pink liveries. Well, they're going to be looking for a move here around the outside of Davidson if they can, but the Speed Hunters TSRC car going as defensive as possible as Janos Wenzel tucks up the inside there of Blankenstein in towards Kajiksa Bend. So he tries to get the move on. It's not going to be easy, and right now it's going to be too wide all the way through turn number 7. And then we can see Sarah Dove watching meanwhile, and Dove trying to get involved here as we jump on board in the 501. And we'll thought about going for the move into turn number 8 and then realise to go too wide there before the chicane, all you're going to do is lose the pack in front. You can gain a place, that's great, but if you lose all the cars in front, you're actually going to end up with a net loss there, whereby you lose the opportunity to fight for more places. So Dove right now still playing patient, and we are on to what is our penultimate lap. We will get a grand total of 12 laps in this race over the 15 minutes, and well, as our leaders are making their way up towards turn number 3 at the moment, we'll stand on board with Dove here, as that is going to be a move potentially from Wenzel. Looking around the outside, onto the brakes they go, and Blankensteiner here defends the inside, and Wenzel goes so deep they almost ends up on the Grand Prix circuit. And well, that's going to enable Dove to think about a cutback move. That's not going to work. Goes for a further switch back up the hill. Still not working there, but you can see how building up that momentum. And these Giro 86 cars are not quite a Mazda MX-5s in the fact they do have a little bit more grunt to them, although they are heavier cars, so therefore it's not always momentum-based racing, but it is a mixture of it there. And when you're off-sequence at one corner, you can lose out at the next one. Meanwhile, in the battle for the AM lead, well, it is Harry Mason right now very much in control, the dog's car for HKS, as he roars his way out, and meanwhile Bart Raven at 1.7 seconds behind. So Mason getting that lead. Ever since doing so, he has not looked back from that overtake, and that happened all the way back on lap number 5, where he passed both Bart Raven and also Lenny Hansen together. Hansen currently running third in the AM class here for wheelchair racing, and well, Yuri Schurer just behind. They're still trying to get involved, as in fact that's going to be Hansen running very deep. I do believe that Lenny Hansen races using only one foot, so he does everything, whether it's throttle, brake, he does it all on a single foot there, as meanwhile we do see Yuri Schurer trying to go round the outside of Hansen. Will he be able to get the move done here? It's going to be too wide down the hill, respectful racing between them, and the privateer here is going to get that move done. And I'll tell you one thing, given how his race started, Schurer right now is absolutely flying out there. He's now up in the third place in the AM class here, and as we go on to the final lap, well, I think that's for the furthest he's going to go. If he can hold on to it, this would be a very impressive performance. But meanwhile, back to the front of the field, we've got half a lap remaining. And Kyle Morby still keeping Kieran Sharp at bay. Sharp looking to go on the attack here as we look down over the front of the number 23. Cutting to the outside now as he powers his way along. But you can see they build up little by little. Gets a lovely overspeed there. But Morby surely now will go so late on the brakes. He does. And Sharp sees that coming and says, right, I'll just let you force it around a little bit deep. But Morby absolutely nails that braking zone, the privateer in the 19. And now defending all the way up the hill as they come through turns 6 and 7 and on towards 8. And well, Jamie Nuttall 2 seconds behind. He can't play a role in this. But Morby right now, he's in the key position where he needs to be on this final lap, which is the lead. Into chicane they go, and I don't think Sharp's going to try and lunge it here. It's all going to be about the run to line. Can Morby just simply get it glued on exit, bouncing over the sausage curb, through the final quarter he goes, and then starts on pole position. It may have been a swap back and forth with Kieran Sharp, but the critical moment, Cole Morby has swapped it back into his hands, and he takes victory here in race number 1. Head of Kieran Sharp and Jamie Nuttall completes the overall and also the pro podium. Davidson, Twaddo and Blankensteiner complete the run to 6th. Head of Gwilym Hamling, Janus Wenzel, Sarah Dove and Kieran O'Reilly will be your pole sitter for race 2. But in the AM class, meanwhile, give this man a round of applause. The Dogs' Harry Mason will come on home to take a victory in the AM class for the first AM win of the season. Head of Bart Raven, who in the end missing out just about, but takes the runner-up spot. And then Yuri Schurer will complete the AM podium there with Lenny Hansen holding on by 100th of the line for 4th place in AM, ahead of Gareth Ronda, who had Mark Pezza right behind him in the end, who rounds off that top 20. We've still got a few drivers to see their finish lines, including Danny Morris. In fact, he's just finished his race. He takes 24th. And then we do have Stefan Hutter, the cracked racing driver from Germany, right now making his way and towards the end of this lap, and well, he's had a bit of a frustrating race. He had to come in at the end of lap number 1 for repair work to the car, but understandably, with the repairs done, he'll be happy about that. Aidan Howard, well, he'll be also calling on down. He has finished a lap down there, the only community racing driver, after what happened in the open lap. It's understandable why his car had to be taken to the pit lane, but Stefan Hutter will be your last lead, that finisher. There he is, 25th, and all of our drivers will now have been classified as finishers. Unfortunately, Luke Smith did not make it to the grid, and therefore a non-start for him. It might be the story of the day. But what a race, ladies and gentlemen. And with our 3-minute warm-up before we go to our next race, that's the perfect time for us to give you a quick walkthrough of the results from race number 1. And here they are, of course, subject to any stewards' inquiries. And as we can see, after our first race of the season, a 15-minute sprint full of action, but also a lovely run through turn 1, it must be said, we got to see here for race 1 of the Sim Racing Collective with oNiD GR Cup from the Circuit de Barcelona-Catalunya in Spain. It was Kyle Morby who took victory by what was only 2 attempts over Kieran Sharp, with the Sim Racing Collective Esports driver not able to find a way through. Jamie Nuttall completed the overall and pro podium, the Cracked Racing driver just ahead of Tom Davidson, with the Sim Racing Collective Esports driver making sure he was clear by half a second over teammate Craig Tardock. Then saw Martin Blankensteiner in 6th for Cracked Racing ahead of Guillaume Hamling, and there was Janos Wenzel in 8th place ahead of Sarah Dove. Kieran O'Reilly completed your top 10 for MSA Racing and will be your pole sitter for race number 2. It will be an all-pro top 10 inversion. We've got no AMs inside there for the first time this season, so therefore it'll be interesting to see how the AMs try to weave their way in later on in the season. But 11th, it was FC Lam for and GRS just missing out on that potential reverse grid pole position, albeit the gap there, 7 seconds. And that goes to show you the split in the field that resulted from the early battles, and particularly that top 10 gradually absconding away. David Haynes was just behind Lamb at the finish in 12th place, but ahead of Finlay Secker. And then we did see James Stone Radford completing the run of pros there to 14th place. And that was the AM winner in the form of Harry Mason. Well done to him for the dogs, behind his teammate, but ahead of Cracked Racing's Bart Raven, who was runner-up in the AM class, and Yuri Shura completing the AM podium there, the priority of passing what was the likes of Gareth Ronda and company at the very end, but in particular getting ahead of none other than Lenny Hansen. Gareth Ronda took 4th in the class for Cracked Racing ahead of Mark Peza, and it was Matt Smith who completed the top 20 for the Cracked Racing team, and outside of that top 20 in none other than what was 21st place, we had David Barnes there for by around round racing, having an up and down race, but making his way through in the end to complete it inside the top 10 of the AMs. And then we did have Tony Preston there in 22nd ahead of Danny Morris, with Stefan Hutter and Lenny Hansen completing those who finished on the lead lap. And I do believe there was a black flag for Lenny Hansen on the final lap, so that would have been an instant point drive-through penalty, and whilst he could not serve it by the finish line, it meant that it has been upgraded to a 40-second post-race time penalty, and that's why Hansen has been demoted all the way to 25th there in the finishing order. So the wheelchair racing driver, unfortunately, has got more work to do in race number 2, and a lap down as finished behind him, only Community Racing's Aidan Howard, and we also saw there a struggle to the finish for none other than Noah Ghazali, and also was Adam Gillenboy and Thomas Lowe being 3 laps down the finish. Meanwhile, a non-start for FD Racing's Luke Smith. So that's a rundown of the finishing positions from race number 1, ladies and gentlemen, and well, we've got another race to come very shortly. Indeed, this warm-up period almost over, so if you hadn't had a chance to go take a bathroom break, we need to quickly do so, because we're about to head to the grid for our second and final race of round number 1 of the Sim Racing Collective with oNiD GR Cup here, brought to you today on iRacing from the Circuit de Barcelona-Catalunya. And so as our drivers make their way onto the grid for the second race of the day, this is how they'll line up. The top 10 inversion means that Kieran O'Reilly this time will be taking pole position for MSA Racing ahead of Sarah Dove. Joining them behind a row at number 2, it's going to be Janos Wenzel and Guillaume Hamling, where Martin Blankensteiner for Cracked Racing line up in 5th, just ahead of the Sim Racing Collective Esports is Craig Twardor. The Cracked Racing pair definitely tried to move forward later in the race, but they couldn't quite pass the Sim Racing Collective Esports cars, so what can they do in this one is the big question. Tom Davidson begins this one in 7th there for the Sim Racing Collective Esports, ahead of Jamie Nuttall for Cracked Racing. Those two enjoyed an absolutely brilliant battle towards the end of the race, as did Kieran Sharp, who starts 9th for the Sim Racing Collective Esports. 9, he's ahead of the winner from race number 1, Kyle Morby, at least at the start, but can the privateer potentially make it 2 from 2 in the pro class and overall? In 11th, we'll have GRS's FC Lamb ahead of David Haynes, the privateer. That's going to be a top 12, and the theme of pro drives continues for a little bit longer, because we go to our 7th row, and it'll be none other than what will be the number 9 machine there of Finlay Secker, just ahead of James Stone Radford. They're going to complete your top 14, and the dog stride will then give way to some AMs, starting with Harry Mason, looking to go for 2 for 2 here in the AM class. He'll be starting 15th for the dogs, ahead of Cracked Racing's Bart Raven. Yuri Shura starts in 3rd of the AM drives, 17th, just ahead of Gareth Ronda for Cracked Racing, and then we'll have Mark Peza starting 5th of the class in 19th. 20th, it's Matt Smith for Cracked Racing, ahead of David Barnes, the buy around the round racing driver. Definitely had an interest in race number 1, but to be fair, delivered some solid points and be hoping to do so again in this one. Tony Preston joins in there on the 11th Friday Good, the privateer, ahead of Danny Morris, and then we'll have Stefan Hutter round off your top 12 rows in 24th place for Cracked Racing. Outside the top 12 rows, we see starting on the 13th row, it is going to be Lenny Hansen with a misfortunate end to the race, and in the wheelchair racing driver having that penalty send him all the way down, but he will be in the company of Aidan Howard, who starts 26th for oNiD Community Racing, and then we will have Noah Ghazali, who starts in 27th, the Italian driver, ahead of Adam Gillenboy, and then completing the starting order with Thomas Lowe, and should he make it to the grid, Luke Smith, but unfortunately, I do believe Luke Smith's car out of this one due to a technical issue with the car, and therefore we're going to have 29 starters, and keep in mind that it is all AM drivers from Harry Mason to the back of the field, bar the man who you do see on screen, ladies and gentlemen, to get ready to go, and that, of course, is Thomas Lowe. He is a pro driver, he had a nightmare race number 1, and he's got to come all the way through from the back of the field in order to be able to try and make this work out. Well, we'll have to wait and see if he can perform some magic. Indeed, we've seen some impressive performances over previous seasons and years here at the Sim Racing Collective, but to do it in a 30-minute race is definitely going to be a challenge. But we're field almost set and all ready to go. Well, we do look to Kieran O'Reilly for MSA Racing, all parked up and absolutely itching to charge away. But of course, there's that formation lap, and it's a partial one, and then we do go. Sarah Dove this time, joining Kieran O'Reilly on that front row. These two won't have seen this far forward in the field so far for this season, but understandably, that's what the top 10 version does. It throws a little bit more of a mix into the wind, and we'll have to wait and see whether these two might be able to come away with a big result, and indeed who can come away with a big result as they start to pull away. Looking further back to Harry Mason, meanwhile, well, he's going to be the AM pole sitter, and indeed he now knows he's going to be battling once again with Bart Raven, with Gareth Ronda having a late turn of pace, and will Ronda be hoping that his Pennzoil cracked racing machine does not pick up anywhere near as much damage this time, so I think they held him back midway through the race and definitely prevents him from potentially chasing down the win. But as all this field builds up the speed now, Aidan Howard as well, he'll be just hoping that this race does not end up in calamity, unlike the open lap of the previous one. But the only community race driver, to be fair, keeping his spirit together and finishing the race even if he finished a lap down, and that's what the spirit is all about, and we look forward to seeing what he'll be able to do in this one. But as the field comes on down now through the RACC chicane, well, the pace car will pull away and it'll be over to Kieran O'Reilly to take us away for another 30 minutes of racing action here today. And it's lights out, away we go for race number 2 of the day here at the Circuit de Barcelona-Catalunya National, as Kieran O'Reilly gets the field rolling down towards turn number 1. But as they do so, we look to the blimp camera, that's 4 wide. We can see there Wenzel and also Hamling squeezing away in the middle. It's going to be the ultimate Moses manoeuvre here, and Janos Wenzel dives in and takes 3 places under braking. Lovely move from him. Meanwhile, the rest of the field comes on through. Bart Raven ahead of Yuri Schurer there, and meanwhile, where on earth is Harry Mason? He's dropped all the way down the field to 5th place in the AM class. Oh, somebody's gone a bit sideways there, heading up the hill, but they've all been able to keep it together. Oh no, that's not going to work out at all, and that's 2 cars ping-ponging each other. Finlay Saka being turned, and also I think Yuri Schurer also being turned around there, the privateer, and a gut-wrenching start to their race, as meanwhile at the front of the field, well, plenty more to come, as we do see Janos Wenzel heading on down, but Kieran O'Reilly battling side by side with Sarah Dove. It was a good start there for the opening couple of corners, particularly for Janos Wenzel with an incredible launch, and now Kieran O'Reilly trying to keep Dove behind, and Gwilym Hamlin looking to go on the attacks as they roll the way out the hill. Well, we do see Craig Twardock here. He's taking a bit of a cheeky peek up the inside of Gwilym Hamlin already. He wants that place off of him before they've been able to get the tyres warmed up. It only does take 2 laps to get the tyres fully warmed up at shorter circuits under race conditions, and now Twardock trying to go around the outside. Hamlin there just holds him out to dry, but Twardock does the same back in turn, makes him go 50-50 up on the curbing and rolling the way down towards turn number 11 right now. We can see the top 3 already started to break away, and Twardock right now is having to fight very hard here as they make the way on towards lap number 2. And the problem is, the more they fight like this early on, the more they're going to give the top 3 an opportunity to break away. And if they do it too soon, well, suddenly the battle for the win could have disappeared before they've even really got started. But now go down to the braking side here. That's going to be a big look around the outside for Jamie Nuttall. He tries to go for everybody, understeers wide, and as a result, Nuttall's going to fall the way backwards and drops all the way to the back of the quintet. And that's going to enable Hamlin, Morby, and Davidson all to get ahead of him. That's not the way you want it to go whatsoever. Meanwhile, Bart Raven, he's still leading the AM class now after that brilliant start, just ahead of, what is it, Gareth Ronda. Hutter, and the gap between the term is interspersed by FC Lamb, as Lamb looks around the outside there for the GRS team. Well, he's not going to be able to make this move initially, but he picks up a huge amount of speed there coming off a turn. Before any wider than that, he would have been subject to a slowdown penalty, but he absolutely nailed that run out of turn 4. That's what it looks like when you get it right. The speed you pick up off that corner is sensational in these cars. Meanwhile, further back has 3-1 at a break in, and meanwhile David Barnes is being swarmed there as the Guinness machine, don't drink and drive, ladies and gentlemen, of Tony Preston. Well, right now he's definitely thinking up a good way to have a celebratory drink after this one. We'll move like that past him, both Smith and Barnes, but he goes a bit too deep there at turn number 6, and meanwhile Barnes being tussled, and that's going to force Barnes backwards, and Aidan Howard on the outside. Now Howard's going to go for it here. The only community racing driver. He's had a really good start to this race. He's already gained 4 places in class. Oh, he gets tapped, however. That's going to send him sideways and onto the path there, David Barnes, and I don't believe it for Aidan Howard. He's having no luck at all. As Ben 22 Racing said early on, let's just say Aidan's a little unlucky today, and well, you're definitely right, Ben, because if he had bad luck in race number 1, well, I don't know what that is in race number 2 other than disastrous luck. But meanwhile, as I run out of adjectives to describe the day for the number 15 driver, into the pit lane is Cole Morby with damage. He speeds his way down the pit lane by looks of things, so I suspect that car is going to be retired from the race at that rate, because he will have picked up a huge penalty for going so quickly down, unless the pit limiter is much higher than I remember. And well, as we come back to your leader of Janos Wenzel, he's still very much in control of this race right now, as Kieran O'Reilly and Sarah Dover with him, albeit these two started on the front row who you see on your camera right now with Wenzel in the lead. I think they'll be thinking to themselves, right, we need to put the fight in behind us for now. We need to make sure that the 3-1-3 drive cannot run away, and that's the thing with Wenzel. Once he gets into a position, he normally likes to try and graft it out and run away into the distance as quickly as he can. Meanwhile, we've got some drivers trying to move forward, as that is going to be Guzzley going very deep there. They're all going deep in towards what is turn number 5, and in the end Hansen coming on through here. Finlay Secker battling side by side, and well, I think Secker had a slowdown penalty for a brief moment. He's already burnt it. Manny Hansen, the wheelchair racing car right now, trying to go around the outside, trying to get this 21st place. This is for overall position only, it's not for class position, bearing in mind of course the fact that right now you've got 2 pro drivers behind the AM driver of Secker and Lowe, and then we do have Noah Gazzoli trying to chase after him as well. The privateer from Italy, he's very brave on the brakes, albeit the bravery not always being rewarded, but to be fair, he's going to go for those moves, and I can't blame him for it, as Aidan Howard watches on behind. He's at the back of this group, now he's got even more work to do. Now we can confirm that Cole Morby is back out there. He has got the car repaired, but meanwhile, here we go, 3 wide further down the order. This is the 2 pros trying to swarm around Hansen, and Secker trying to go around the outside. That's not going to work, and Hansen in the end will just defend him coming out to 1 into 2, but in fact he gives him the space there. He actually lets Secker take that inside line quite comfortably into 2-3, and well, as a result, we get ahead, but not like that. That's going to be contact between the 2 of them, and Finlay Secker being turned around, and suddenly Noah Gazzoli's going to take the place of Hansen for a 10th place in the AM class, as we are behind Thomas Lowe. Still trying to make a way past and away from Aidan Howard, but Howard's the man overtaking him. So Howard there gains a place for a brief moment, but that fight definitely getting very squirrely further down the order. But meanwhile, back into the top 10, and FC Lamb right now, he's trying to break his way into the top 10, but the problem he's got is that David Haynes, who you saw go through camera shot for a brief moment and then will reappear. There he's in the line green machine. He's currently 10th place runner overall and in pro, and FC Lamb would like to get there as a fellow pro driver, but Bart Raven, oh, and Raven's into the wall. I don't believe that's Am leader getting it wrong coming out of the chicane. Car goes around, big chance of the tyre barrier. He's going to reverse it here to try and get it turned, because of course you can't drive in the wrong direction for too long on iRacing, otherwise you immediately get taken to the pit lane, you get disqualified for it, and that is the worst possible instant Bart Raven could ever have. Gareth Ronda now picks up the AM lead, and with a 3-second gap to Harry Mason, well, right now the dog's driving the HKS racing machine. He's got it all to do to try and chase down Ronda, but that gap is not going to be an easy one to close down. He's going to need to do this on raw pace. Now, in theory, he can do it, because the last couple of laps, he has been 2 tenths a lap faster by comparison to Ronda. We do the mathematics. That's practically going to be the whole race to close down the gap to Ronda. When he gets in 2 seconds, he'll gain the distance over these GR86 Cup machines. They do pick up a slipstream off each other, but Ronda right now is definitely got to try and run away, and Harry Mason, meanwhile, has got to try and hope that Stefan Hutter and Mike Smith do not want to fight. They all want to work together for the betterment of chasing down the winner, but Hutter's position in there and the fact that Mason has to go defensive may say otherwise, as we ride on board here the dash camera of Stefan Hutter's car. Well, that lovely perspective, of course, looking out the front of the car from the right-hand side, and you see the fact that right now Mason a lot quicker going through these more technical sequences, but it's on the straight, so the toe just brings him back in, and that's the thing, these cars, they continue to yo-yo back and forth with each other. through the chicane here. Hutter just a little bit bolder on the brakes by comparison, but whilst that may work in the sprint race, when we do double the race time distance, well, tyre wear becomes a little bit of a factor. The tyres on these cars, they normally last 15 minutes. You can push them too far over 15 minutes. You can wear them down, so that way you don't actually have as optimal life in the tyre in the final 2 to 3 minutes, as we have seen in the iRacing official Toyota GR6 Cup by Sim Magic in the past. And right now, something our drivers need to be wary of, the fact that these tyres, you do need to manage them over longer distances. You cannot just keep pushing them time and time again. They do not have endless durability, and once these drivers roll the way out of turn number 4, right now Craig Twardock definitely finding that out. Star Dove has been relegated down to 5th place, and Kieran O'Reilly is trying to stay away from this where he can. But Jamie Nuttall and Kieran Sharp, they're at the back of this group. They're really taking the time with this. Oh, that is very concertina effect. And number 23, Kieran Sharp there, biffing Nuttall on the back as he's biffed Dove on the back. I think everyone there just getting caught up on each other. But whilst we do have a little bit of quiet in this race, we're going to take a look back at some of the big moments from this second race of the day. So this was your race start, and it's crazy to think how cloudy it was when we went racing compared to how it now is, as we are still racing. And then Kieran O'Reilly getting a decent start, but watch out for Janos Wenzel. Started from the second row, directly behind O'Reilly, and immediately pulls into the middle there. The same fault being shared by the correct racing car alongside him. But here Wenzel picked this perfectly as they went to the braking zone, outbroke O'Reilly, and then everyone else got swarmed together. The correct racing car steps on each other's toes, and Wenzel making that move perfectly. You could not ask for a more better judge running to turn 1, and Gareth Ronda, meanwhile, further back, definitely enjoying getting into the scrap there. There's a couple of cars sideways. That was the car, the lime green machine of David Haynes, and unfortunately we did have that contact between 2 drivers. Stefan Hutter being unfortunate in the fact that he got caught up with that as well, and that was the opening lap drama. Now, we did have this for James Stone Radford. And this was Radford coming towards the end of the open lap. We didn't quite catch this by comparison. So this was the Dogs driver coming down the hill. And as he did so behind the GRS machine, went out on the brakes, and the Guinness machine went a bit too hot. And that's what sent Radford on around. Oh, and Lenny Hansen being caught up with that and going straight into the side of him. Disastrous for both of them there. That's not the way they wanted it to go when they finally did get the cars turned around. We had this for Danny Morris. This was on lap number 2. And Morris making his way down towards the opening bend. As he did so here, he's coming very hot, extremely hot, and making contact there. Slight scratch to the side of Gasly's car, and Morris there rubber banding off of it. And unfortunately, well, it's all Newton's forces, and that ricochet effect there almost sent him into the Armco barrier, but thankfully he just about dodged it. But we had this huge jump. Now, this was a big talking point on lap 2. Kyle Morby, as he made his way down in towards turn 8 and 9 and 10. Oh, he got it wrong there. Off of the sausage curb, coming out of turn 8, just put the rear left tyre beyond it, and he got hooked over the curb, and that's what sent the car around. And then when he rejoined, it sent him all the way to the back, and unfortunately his race was in arrears, and then there was a bit of an error there, but Morby had to go into the pit lane due to suspension damage. That explained it all. We then had this big moment, and this was for Bart Raven. It all went very wrong for Bart Raven on lap number 4, and this was from the lead of the AM class, and he was trying to bolt away. He was doing very well to do so, made his way through the chicane, and as he exited, well, I think he's going to hook the rear left tyre. Yes, he is. It's a Morby incident essentially, but a much more aggressive one into the barrier, and at that point it was all to pieces. But we come back to your live racing, ladies and gentlemen, just in a good time, because Jamie Nuttall and Kieran Sharp, they still fight each other here, and we'll just find you see Sarah Dove at the inside of Gwellam Hamlin, but Nuttall holds off Sharp for now for 5th place, and indeed this battle right now to be in the top spots is looking close. But with all this fighting, Craig Twardock has got to the head of the pack of 2nd through to 10th, but the problem now is that Janos Wenzel is 3 seconds away. Now, in theory, Twardock is the quicker driver. Their best lap so far, Twardock has been 3/10 quicker on a single lap. Now, we do not know whether it's been aided by slipstream or whether it's in pure pace, so we have to assume there's got to be an element of slipstream in there. But even if he's a 10th quicker right now, with 19 minutes left to go in this race, it will not be enough to close that gap down, theoretically. He would need to be about 1.5 to 2/10 quicker lap to give himself the confidence he will get there. So we'll have to monitor that, as meanwhile, the fighting for 4th place is still continuing, and Nuttall right now cannot clear O'Reilly. And well, the 2 Kieran's ganging up here, and Jamie, as that's going to be Sharp trying to go inside to outside. That's not going to work there as they battle for Kieran's supremacy. Jamie Nuttall right now just finds himself as the filling in the sandwich, and then up the hill, David Haynes right on the back of this right now, itching for a fight as well. Meanwhile, further down the order, Kyle Morby trying to go around the outside of Finlay Secker, and well, I think here the priority is going to be able to outbrake him, but we'll be able to outrun him from turn 1 into turn 2, and our winner from race number 1 does exactly that, beats him on the brakes and seals the deal. Meanwhile, that's going to be Noah Gasly going a little bit bit deep, and well, as a result, that's going to enable Thomas Lowe to go past, and up the road he goes then, up into 20th place, but overall, that's not in class. Now, we still do have all but one of your drivers out there. We had 29 starters. Lenny Hansen, unfortunately, has had to retire due to damage to the car, but his 28 runners still out there, which is brilliant to see. But back to Gareth Ronda we come, because there's action happening everywhere, and this is Ronda under pressure here from second place AM driver. They're battling for the AM lead. That's Harry Mason. Now remember, Mason took the win in race number 1, and well, did so ahead of Bart Raven, who's effectively out of this lead battle for now, unless he can perform a miracle being the best part of the lap down, but never say never, to be fair. And indeed, that's always a surprise, or the best part of half a lap down, I should say, not a full lap down there. That'd be rude about Bart Raven. But Gareth Ronda right now to go defensive. This is bringing Mark Pearser, also Stefan Hutter and David Barnes all into the mix. They're all now within a second of each other, and that is the optimum tow zone. As soon as you get within a second of one of these cars, you suddenly gain about 2 to 3 miles an hour down the longest of straights, and you really notice it. Oh, that's the car around there. That is Gasly going on around, and what's exactly happened to the Italian driver, we will try and get a replay of that when we can. We've also had Finlay Secker come into the pit lane. I think there's damage to the car. James Stone Radford's in as well. Secker's in for a black flag penalty, and I believe Radford the same. So there's a bit of a story there. We will try and brief you on it when we can, ladies and gentlemen. A few surprises, and Gasly definitely has damage to the car as well, so that is going to only see his race go from good to bad to worse. But meanwhile, where it's getting a bit brutish out there, we've also got some very clean racing going on. As we come back to the fight for second, Twadok and Davidson together. Now, in terms of the gap to Wenzel, that has come down. In fact, that's coming down very quickly. Wenzel has lost half a second on this lap, I believe. Let me just wait until we come across that timeline to confirm. Here goes Wenzel across the timeline. That last lap, a 20.29. Twadok, a 20.2. Well, that's the 10th gained, but I don't know about half a second, but our time tower's definitely shown that gap's come down to 2.4 seconds, so something's happened there. And Tom Davidson, meanwhile, he's absolutely mounting the pressure on Twadok as they roll the way out of turn 1 and in towards 2. Davidson looking very good, and well, as Jamie Nuttall pushes onwards, meanwhile, we come back. Oh, that's gone off the road there. Who's that taking a trip? That's Kieran O'Reilly, who's cut the corner. He's going to have to serve a slowdown there, but I think he's been assisted to go out that wide. I don't think he chose to do that, and whether he did so there, well, that's not a rallycross road, but as he comes back on, FC Lambs with him, and well, we'll come back to that very shortly as David Haynes picks up a slowdown coming out of turn 4 for track limit. Meanwhile, Craig Tardok still under pressure here, but without further ado, we are going to get a quick look back at what happened there, but not before we find out what happened between Noah Gasly and also Finlay Secker. Now, this was these two battling their way through the chicane. In fact, that was Gasly battling there with our car of what was, I believe, well, that was Carl Morby there, and Gasly getting caught up, and unfortunately, Finlay Secker being caught, oh, goodness me, and Gasly reversed it onto the road there and sending James Stone Radford straight to the pit lane with that damage, and the Dog's Trial will be fuming at that one. That definitely was not a rejoin that anyone would have been pleased with, and well, I think everyone can learn from that one a little bit, but still, that's the way it's gone, and just Stone Radford's car in pieces. But meanwhile, this is what happened to Kieran O'Reilly. Sorry, he was battling at the time with Sarah Dove. These two have been battling each other since the start of the race. Came out the corner, got pranged on the quarter panel there by Dove. Just a bit of an interlink in between the two cars, and O'Reilly sent off the road. No malice meant in that battle, to be fair. Unfortunately, the two of them rubbed paint, and well, with the way they were set up, it was always going to end with one car being pushed a little bit wide, and O'Reilly, unfortunately, in the wrong place, and indeed at the right time to being sent out there. But meanwhile, back to the live racing we come. Halfway through the race we have gone. We've got half to go here, and this is Gareth Ronda holding on to the AM lead right now. Harry Mason is now buried his fangs, and into the inside of 2 he goes. That's not going to work there. He knows it's a close apex. He backs out, but now here comes Mark Pizer, who's going to look for the move. We look down over the front here on the 77. Can he go all the way around the outside for this? The answer is going to be yes, no, maybe he's going to understeer really wide. That's going to be a slowdown penalty there. Indeed, Pazer's going to have to give up the time he's theoretically gained by doing that, and well, he'll lift off the throttle here and just roll in behind as they make the way down towards turn number 5. And there you can see David Barnes and Stefan Hutter. They're definitely getting a little bit firm with each other. And the bite around a racing driver getting ready to battle as they head up the hill. But the 27 car right now, well, Barnes having a very different race compared to race number 1. I think he'll be very pleased about this. Is a race right now where he's definitely in control of his destiny and seems to be on the march potentially for a podium, if not the win. Well, we'll have to see what he can do in the AM class as they all even way the way through. But that is your top 5 in AM, all in a single camera shot. That is Ronda, Mason, Pizer, Barnes and Hutter, and that is 12 all the way through to 16th place together on the road. As I head down the start for this straight, Hutter now looking for an opportunity. Well, I think he's going to try to bump draft Barnes along here. You can bump draft these cars quite comfortably, and Mason's trying to do the same initially with Ronda, or he's not, in fact. Car coming out the pit lane there, and that'll be a lap down. That'll be Gasly's car, and well, Ronda holding that inside line every step of the way there, going full on defensive. Barnes goes a bit too deep at 1. Now, will he have the inside of 2? Yes, he will. Hutter's going to try and go up the hill around the outside, but that's never going to work, and therefore Barnes defending for now, but having to defend at the cost of a lot of time. Meanwhile, here's Aidan Howard up the inside of Danny Morris. That's for 9th place in the AM class. Smooth move there from the only community racing driver. Morris, I don't think really has a response to that one, but I think his focus will be to work with Howard to try and go further up the road. As we do say hello there to Leonard Hansen, or Lenny Hansen as he's known on the grid, and we'll have a bit of a frustrating second race. I'm really sorry to see it's not worked out for you today, Lenny, but we're very happy to have you in the YouTube chat with us, and well, hopefully it's some recompense there, and you get to enjoy the racing that is still going on, even though you're not unfortunately a part of it anymore with the damage to your car. And indeed, we missing you out there, no doubt about it. But as we do see our leader right now, 2.5 seconds clear, Wenzel has stabilised that gap. And I think here, with the fact that Twadok is not gaining any ground, Davidson says, right, Craig, I've given you 2 laps. Now we're going to go for it ourselves, as Jamie Nuttall squeezes up the inside there. And Twadok did not see that coming. You could tell by the fact that Nuttall then had to rub the paint off the side of the monster car. And, well, they're going to go too wide coming up the hill. And, well, Nuttall battling side by side. Oh, with Twadok there. It's absolute elbows out between these two. Kieran Sharp on the back here as they make their way over the crest of 4. And it's still elbows out. And Sharp right now, he wants to make it 3 wide. But the problem is, it's now going to be a situation whereby Jamie Nuttall here, where does he put the car? He puts it on the outside line. So Twadok does get the inside here. But this is all a ruse, because what Nuttall wants to do is have the outside initially to get the inside in towards turn number 7. That's where he'll take the place back, and Twadok's got to try and essentially go all the way around the outside here, but it's a much wider circumference corner when you do that, and therefore Nuttall's now got the inside when it matters most. Through 7, in towards 8, and now down the hill they go, but Twadok is not backing out this. He's going to fight this every step of the way. Credit where it's due here to the 200 drive. He's going for it, and Nuttall's going to have to elbow him out wide there, but here comes Kieran Sharp back up the inside, and will brilliant racing between them. Yes, Twadok was elbowed out, but I don't think you'll complain about that. Is GR86 Cup racing at its finest. 2 wide for every corner sequence, even when you shouldn't be going 2 wide for a chicane, and Twadok immediately joins the back of this group, knowing he was risking it all, and that Nuttall at the end of the day was going to be absolutely firm but fair. And now coming down towards turn number 1, looking around the outside again, but Sharp through the middle of the 2. Can he go for the Moses manoeuvre here? It's Easter Monday, of course, so it's a bit of a biblical moment, but unfortunately for him, that's not going to work out, and now he's going to have to try and hold it on the inside of 2. That will work out, and Nuttall falls back in, but look behind, this group is approaching 2.5 seconds back. Martin Blankensteiner on the attack, with Guillaume Hamling close behind him. The Cracked Racer drives together, and then we've got Sarah Dava, Kieran O'Reilly and Derrid Haynes completing that top 10, all in a long line. But meanwhile, here we go back to the fight for 3rd place, as Tom Davidson's already left this bind in 2nd place. He's 3 seconds clear. He's closing down Janus Wenzel now, uninterrupted. And Kieran Sharp defending hard versus Nuttall. Well, these two fighting over 3rd place. I think they've completely forgotten about the fact there's a win up the road. And we're 10 minutes to go here. This might be the furthest they go, but we're not going to blame them for that. Meanwhile, coming back to Harry Mason. And in fact, David Barnes is now up into 2nd place in the AM class. But here comes Mason, looking around the outside, coming down towards turn at number 5. And it's going to be Barnes on the inside there, trying to outbrake the Dog's machine. And Mason right now goes a bit too wide. He's going to run off wide, and that's going to give him a black flag there, and a bit of tap between David Barnes. Both of them have now picked up black flags for instant points, and well, Barnes getting a little bit aggressive on the rear there of Mason's car. I think trying to cover forward, but I think both drivers with their contacts with the 4Xs, they've gone over the instant point limit of 17 instant points, and now they'll both be serving drive-through penalties. You can see there, well, Barnes going all in inside to outside, but they'll both be taking a trip to the pit lane, and in they both come. They'll need to, because otherwise that penalty will be upgraded in 3 laps to a disqualification, I do believe, and therefore they do have to serve it. So that's unfortunate. We'll relegate them out of the fight, but the elbows out racing between those two has definitely what is escalated, as I stumble over my words. It's escalated a bit too far according to the iRacing stewarding system. So as they serve what will be their drive-through penalties, well, meanwhile, we come back to Gareth Ronda, who's now very much clear of all the AM fighting. He's leading the AM class now by almost 6 seconds over Adam Gillenboy. And, well, the Swedish driver, meanwhile, has got Matt Smith and Stefan Hutter still for close company. But we're missing a particular South African from this group, Mark Peza, and this is what exactly happened to him back on lap 15. So this was battling at the time with Barnes and also with Mason. Too wide on the exit of the corner and went in towards turn number 2. Tried to squeeze in there and really went for it, but unfortunately contact with Barnes sent Peza on round. Now some would argue that Peza had earned the right to be on the inside. Others would argue meanwhile that perhaps by going so late there he was risking it all and expecting that he'd be given the space by Barnes. A bit of a contentious one, that one. You need multiple camera angles to really dissect it, but that's for the stewards to do, not for us, ladies and gentlemen, as we come back to your live racing. But he's still out there is Mark Peza, but he's down in 11th place in the AM class right now, so not a happy month for him. But back to your racing, and we do see Janos Wenzel still leading and puts in a personal best lap last time around, a 19.54. It's not the fastest lap we've seen. Kieran Sharp currently owns the fastest lap race, a 19.43. But Wenzel close to it, and most importantly, he is responding to Davidson, who did get the gap down to 2 seconds, and now Wenzel has opened it back up to 2.5 seconds here. So Wenzel has just been saving his tyres. And Wenzel, I think, is revealing the cards that are close to his chest, which he's actually got race-winning pace under him. Kieran Sharp, meanwhile, he's still got Nuttall Twardok behind him. And then we do have Guillaume Hamling 2.5 seconds back with Blankensteiner acting as rear guard. And that is going to be an adventurous run around the outside. You can go wide there to a degree at turn number 5, but you can't go that wide. And Kieran O'Reilly does pick up a slowdown penalty for that, so he's going to have to serve that within 30 seconds. If he does not serve it, it will be upgraded to what will be a penalty. It'll be a drive-through penalty most likely. Sometimes it can be a stop and hold, depending on how strict the iRacing shooting system plans to be. But Kieran O'Reilly right now, well, he'll need to serve that penalty. When's he going to do it? He's yet to serve it. Well, as we do see, oh, that's going very sideways there. That's FC Lamb, who goes round on the exit chicane. And, well, your number 64 driver there getting it very wrong, and will now try to get it very right as he gets himself back up to speed. That's not the way he wanted it to go. Kieran O'Reilly does serve the slowdown in the end. Tactically does it at the end of the start for the straight as late as he possibly can. The idea is he doesn't want to lose the draft of the 2 cars in front, so quite smart in doing it, but risking it, of course, being upgraded into a more severe penalty. So gets away with it that time at least. Carl Morby, remembering, of course, your driver who won race number 1 overall in the pro class. We had the early incident, but right now he's on the back of Matt Smith here. He's now into 15th place, shortly 14th perhaps. Smith goes a little bit defensive there and then realises perhaps it's not worth it given the fact he's battling with a pro driver. And he is an AM. All these drivers have been informed of their classes before this round, and they have it on their relatives, I do believe. So therefore, right now, Morby takes that place. He'll move up into 14th. Next up will be Adam Gillenboy, and then it will be a 5-second gap to Gareth Ronda. Now, if you are Matt Smith, what you would do at this point, if you have got your thinking cap on, which you haven't always got on, to be fair, when you're racing, that's not to be rude about him. Indeed, testosterone and adrenaline take over when you're behind the wheel of one of these machines, even on the simulator. Well, right now what he will do is wait for Morby to make a move on Gillenboy, but he'll need to be close when he does so, and he can use the pro driver as his anchor for trying to find a move there for that second place in the AM spot. We do see a bit of a run wide from the Swede in front of the trio. Well, right now, Carl Morby's going to figure out a potential move here, but I don't think Gillenboy wants to let this place go. I think he knows what Smith may try to do here, which is to essentially use Morby as a way into the fight, and particularly with Stefan Hutter 9 tenths behind, it could all still be to play for. So therefore, right now, you have to think, what does the 18 driver do at this point? Does he keep going as defensive as possible to keep a pro behind, knowing the pro is going to act as his rear guard, although Morby will have something to say about that. Although it's fair, of course, they are not forced to give way, or does he let it go? Well, as they make the way down the start for the straight, I think an answer is going to be forced on him here. I think he's going to have to let it go to Gillenboy as they head down towards turn number 1. And well, your number 18 driver here gives all the space to Morby, knowing that Morby's going to have a tighter line, but I think Carl Morby will get this done. And Gillenboy does go a bit deep there, but he will pick up the slingshot out the corner, so good exit will keep it safe from Smith and Hutter, but just about. Meanwhile, we look a bit further back. Here is Harry Mason, Tony Preston and Danny Morris together as Preston goes very deep there. And, well, it's not quite Carling because it's Guinness and Danny Morris up the inside. And Preston falling backwards there. So Preston's small mistake into the opening hairpin. That drops him all the way back to 8th place in AM. And David Barnes is queuing up behind, having made his trip down pit lane. And that drive-through penalty has been served. And Barnes is almost ready to go back into the fight once again. He's got a lot of pace as Barnes. And, well, it's perhaps been a bit of a scrappy race for him. But the by-around racing driver definitely, undoubtedly, has a lot of pace on his fingertips. He's got to tame it in a little bit, and he could definitely be picking up podiums, if not wins, but it just hasn't worked out today. Meanwhile, And back to Mark and Blankensteiner, side by side with David Haynes. Haynes up the inside, then the lime green machine. Sarah Dove thinks about getting involved and then realises these two are not going to send each other too deep, although Blankensteiner is run to the edge of the road there. I think he did have a little bit of a rub with Haynes' car, and that just propelled him slightly sideways. No malice meant, and that will definitely be considered to be a racing incident. As they make the way up the hill, Kieran O'Reilly still behind Dove. And well, this is how the two finished the previous race. And right now, they're going to be finishing the exact same way once again. They seem destined to be together in the fifth row finishing positions, and destined to finish 9th and 10th respectively. We'll see here whether O'Reilly can find a way to get involved, as Dove holding on for now, and the 5-for-1 Minolta machine, the Toyota car, holding it nicely behind Blankensteiner. But these two, of course, definitely enjoying a good little scrap. It's going to be one of those rivalries I think we'll see over the course of the season. Meanwhile, David Barnes at the inside of Tony Preston goes all in, gets it stopped on the dime. And well, that's going to be a place made there. Up to 8th place now in Am, ahead of Preston, the by-round racing driver. And now 1.5 seconds gap to Danny Morris he needs to carve down. But whilst all this is happening further down the field, at the front of the field, with another 3 laps to go, based on some mental mathematics, Janos Wenzel right now goes on to lap 21, and 2.5 seconds clear of Tom Davidson, who has just set the fastest lap of the race, a 1 minute 19.24, and then in third, Kieran Sharp still defending versus Nuttall. These two fighting hard, and Craig Talbot tries to get involved again here. He really does want this Nuttall as we jump on board looking down over the front of the car. And Sim Racing Collective Esports 200, he gets a really good run off the turn number 3. He's going to go to the outside here. Immediately wants the wide line. He wants to carry the momentum up the hill. But the problem is right now in the fact the understeer creeps in with the corner being so off camber at turn 4 beyond the apex. Beyond the outside isn't always the best place to be. It's a very hard corner too wide. Inside you have a much tighter entry line, so you lose so much speed, but you mitigate the understeer that will come on the exit. Meanwhile, the outside, you've got a lot more speed going in, but of course you are naturally going to understeer wide on exit, and you don't want to do that because you'll pick up a slowdown. So where do you want to be? That's where you want to be one wide through there typically. It's not a place to overtake at turn number 4, though we have seen some daring overtakes so far today, and I'm sure we'll see plenty more over the course of this season at other corners where you don't normally overtake. Down at Friedrich chicane right now. Twilight just backs off once again. No, it's not going to come forward this time, but he's running out of time. 2 laps to go here. And meanwhile, David Haynes, well, he's still on the back of Martin Blankensteiner. With Willem Hamling being able to break away from this group, Blankensteiner's been given the unenviable task at Cracked Racing of holding on to 7th place. And I think Haynes has got ideas about this. O'Reilly has as well. Sarah Dove has fallen back to 10th place. And here they go down the start for the straight. Now, will O'Reilly go for it? We ride on board for a brief moment. Yes, he does. Will he go for the pair? He is going to go for it. A huge overspeed here under braking into the hairpin. It's free wide, and then we'll reverse Moses Blankensteiner, and Kieran O'Reilly in the end will get it done. Just about. Lovely move from Kieran O'Reilly. Takes both of them, and Haynes is still there. Oh, contact. Slight bit of contact, and Blankensteiner in allowed to get the car straightened out as Haynes immediately lifted off there. Great race of respect shown by Haynes. He could have kept the throttle pinned, but he decided not to because it would have sent the Cracked Racing car even more sideways, and Sarah Dove watching on. Meanwhile, cannot get involved. Meanwhile, Gareth Ronda being passed by the pro driver of Kyle Morby, so your AM leader losing overall position, but he won't be too upset about that because right now running in 13th place, well, the most important thing for him is being the AM leader with Adam Gillenboy behind there with Matt Smith and Stefan Hutter still queuing up, all fighting over the final 2 podium positions. And then you have got Aidan Howard, who, credit where it's due, he's come all the way through from 12th in class. He's 5th in class at the moment with Harry Mason 3.5 seconds behind. Mason, of course, started on pole, and the Dogs driver had it all go wrong. But right now, he's still trying to chase it after Howard as quickly as he can. But final lap gets underway then, and it's white flags out for Janos Wenzel and Tom Davidson. Kieran Sharp right now. Well, I think it's more the red mist is out between these two as Nuttall try to look around the outsider shot. I mean, these two know each other, and they have battled each other for season after season. And Sharp right now going a bit deep into the corner. A bit cheeky there, rubbing the paint with Nuttall and saying to him, you're going to go deep before you get to 2. And Nuttall says, I've seen that one before, Kieran. We're going to go all the way up towards turn number 4. And Sharp now defending there, just getting ahead of Nuttall in the nick of time. I think if he'd been any later, the two of them would have been into the barrier. That's how well they respect each other and know each other. But Sharp goes a bit deep. Nuttall now looking for the move down the outside here like it's a hairpin. And Neil Craig Talbot just watching on. He can't really help out his teammate Kieran at this point. He's going to have to wait. And will Sharp go as defensively as humanly possible. But Nuttall gets a really good run. Does he stay within track limit? Just about. There's a head up the hill and in towards turn 6 and 7. Nuttall on the inside. And now Nuttall's going to try and get this move all done through the corner. But as he does so, ladies and gentlemen, to the well, we've got to look to your leader because as he comes down the hill. It was a daring move into lead on the open lap, and since that, he's never looked back. Janos Wenzel with a Moses maneuver at the start will take victory here in the second race of the day by 2 seconds in the end over Tom Davidson. But who is going to be third? It's going to be Kieran Sharp in the end, with Craig Twardock squeezing his way past Jamie Nuttall for the last couple of wheels. We're going to replay that where we can. And then it will be Gwilym Hamling in 6th place, ahead of Kieran O'Reilly, who takes home 7th. And then we'll see Martin Blankenstein ahead of Sarah Dove and David Haynes completing your top 10. FC Lamb and Cole Morby will be completing your running order down to what is at 12th place. There's your AM leader, Gareth Ronda. But let's see FC Lamb across the line first. And then we'll see Cole Morby. Oh, hold up a second. There's been a bit of an altercation there between Morby and I believe Gazali. But in the end, Gareth Ronda completely backs off there because 13th place, well, it's not important where he finishes overall for Gareth Ronda. This is going to be a first AM class win of the season. A brilliant drive from him. And then it will be Adam Gillenboy bringing on home the run-up spot in AM, head of Stefan Hutter, who comes home 3rd in class. And then Matt Smith just missing out by half a second at the line. Thomas Lowe will take 17th, given the fact he started in 29th. A really good effort there from the Vodafone privateer ahead of Aidan Howard. What a recovery drive for him to take 5th in the AM class. Harry Mason just behind there, your winner for race number 1. Unfortunately, with his altercation with David Barnes, could not make it 2 from 2. And then we will see just behind Barnes there, Yuri Shura bringing on home 8th place in AM, 21st overall ahead of Danny Morris. And it will be Bart Raven 23rd, round of the top 10 in AM ahead of Tony Preston, with Mark Payes in the end finishing in a rather frustrating 12th in AM, 25th overall. And then we will see Finlay Secker bringing on home at 26th place, and they will be your last lead lap finishers. But goodness me, ladies and gentlemen, what a race. What a pair of races today. But as Janos Wenzel parks up there, he'll be absolutely ecstatic with that win at the privateer. He absolutely delivered it. But with that, let's deliver you your race results subject to any stewards' inquiries, and here they are. And as we can see, after an absolutely incredible first race, well, the best way to follow it up was an absolutely brilliant race number 2. And that's exactly what we got here for round number 1 at the Circuit de Barcelona-Catalunya for the Sim Racing Collective in collaboration with oNiD GR Cup for 2026 brought to you on iRacing. And Janos Wenzel making it the pro and overall win in the second race, head of the Sim Racing Collective esports pair of Tom Davidson and Kieran Sharp. They completed the podium at 2-3, and Craig Toddock took 4th place in the end. And we are going to get you a replay after we've gone through the results of how Toddock did take that 4th place right at the finish line, and Jamie Nuttall unfortunately missing out on the podium and having to settle for 5th instead for Cracked Racing. Gwilym Hamling took 6th place there, and the Luxembourgish driver doing a brilliant job to break away from the rest of the top 10, but could not hunt down the top 5 in time. MSA Racing's Kieran O'Reilly in the end delivering a 7th place. He'll be pleased with that, ahead of Martin Blankensteiner, and the Cracked Racing driver taking 8th ahead of Sarah Dove, with the priority just outrunning David Haynes to the finish line. That's your top 10. FC Lamb took 11th there, best of the rest for GRS ahead of Cole Morby, and the Private who took the win in race number 1. A frustrating start to this race, and they're having to settle for 12th, but to be fair, knows he's got race winning pace. Now all he needs is a little bit of race winning luck in the feature race at least. Then in 13th, your AM class winner for Cracked Racing, Gareth Ronda. What a brilliant drive from him, head of Adam Gillenboy, and the Swede in the end finishing 3 seconds adrift, but to be fair to him, making sure he was on the podium just ahead of fellow podium finisher 3rd in the AM class of Stefan Hutter. The German driver Cracked Racing was ahead of his teammate of Matt Smith. Not quite a double podium for them in the AM class, but they came close. And then Thomas Lowe, the pro driver, starting from the very back of the field, made his way to 17th, just ahead of Aidan Howard, who completed the AM top 5 for oNiD Community Racing. And Harry Mason was ahead of David Barnes, completing that top 20. From the round racing driver, who definitely saw a bit of bruising to the car today, we then did see outside that top 20 what was Yuri Shura ahead of Danny Morris, with the 2 priorities enjoying a late battle. Bart Raven in the end was not able to repeat his heroics from race number 1, with that huge incident coming out of the chicane, sending him wayward to the pit lane. So he was 23rd for Cracked Racing ahead of Tony Preston. And then it was Mark Payes and Finlay Secker who completed your lead lap finishers down to 26th place. 3 laps down, it was then Noah Gazali, and the Italian driver had a very frustrating second race. And we did see some early retirements for James Stone Radford for the Dogs, and also wheelchair racing to Lenny Hansen. And we saw a non-start for Luke Smith with technical issues preventing the FD Racing driver from making it into any of the sessions today. For goodness me, ladies and gentlemen, what a race. And without further ado, just before we get ready to queue up for what will be our post-round interviews, this is how Craig Toddock made the move on Jamie Nuttall right at the end. And this was, they made the way out the chicane, and well, Nuttall in fact was into third there. He had got it done, but went wide coming out of turn at number 10. Unfortunate moment hitting the sausage curve. It gave Sharp third place, and it gave Twadot the momentum he needed to steal away that position. So unfortunately for Nuttall, a small error when he'd almost got it all done, but just a little bit of pressurised at the end, built up massively. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, we are now going to step away, and when we come back in approximately 5 minutes' time, we bring you our first post-round interviews of the season. So don't go anywhere. You won't want to miss hearing what our drivers have got to say about an absolutely exciting round of racing action here in Spain. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for our post-round interviews, our first ones of the season, and what better way to kick off our interviews than speaking to the man who put together an absolutely brilliant recovery drive in race number 2 after a frustrating race 1, because joining me now is none other than Aidan Howard. Aidan, good evening to you. How was that for a season opening round?
It's not too bad. It was a bit manic for race one. I was unfortunately caught up in a lap one incident on turn four. I think a couple of cars decided that one and one doesn't go together. So unfortunately got caught up with that one. And then it was a lap issue where I was just getting out of lap cars. But race two was fun. A couple of racing incidents, I think, spun me around a couple of times. And not I need to watch it back, but just yeah, just fought back through the field. And I think I was like P5 overall in AMS class and 18th overall. So I'll make grumble. It was a good night's worth of racing, that's for sure.
Oh, 100%. You're spot on with your finishing position in the feature race, taking that fifth place. An absolutely brilliant delivery there. Just tying it all back before we went racing today, of course. The GR86 car, a very popular car with many on iRacing. Have you raced it often, or is this your first exposure to it?
This is my first. Well, I think I make a bit of a dive bomb into that call I just saw on YouTube. Oh, sorry, that pink car. Yes, so sorry. Yes, it was. I'm usually more of a GT driver or maybe a bit of open wheel Formula Ford. So tin top is always a nice change of pace. They feel oddly underpowered a little bit. You're kind of waiting for the RPMs to pick up, but once you get the momentum going, actually quite fun to drive.
Oh, fantastic. And I definitely agree with you there. The momentum being a key part of it and getting the car gripped up. And then coming into talking about qualifying, then, so your first real turning laps in anger in this car. 26th overall, 11th in class. How do you feel your qualifying session went?
Naff. I'm not a qualifying guy. I'm more of a get out on the track, get your head down, just do some good laps and see what happens. Give me a circuit and give me a circuit to itself and tell me to set tell me to set a fast time. It's never going to work. So yeah, qualifying is always a bit of a write off for me, and I just figure it out in the race.
Oh, fair play. Well, like you say, you'll figure it out in the race. And race number one, I mean, it was a bit of a difficult one. Although, to be fair, start of the race looked A-OK. And as you mentioned, it just all fell to pieces shortly afterwards.
Yeah, I just got caught up on the outside of turn one, and I think my crew chief said you're three wide. I'm like, oh no. So just kind of go around the outside, hope for best, and then unfortunately just had nowhere to go on that turn four incident. A couple of cars just went on the track, and I was like, well, I can just slam on the brakes and hope I don't hit them too hard because there's nowhere for me to go. Cars either side of me. I'm like, I'm locked in now. There's not much I can do.
Well, you may have been locked in come what happened at the start of race number one, and in the end, you still managed to get the car home, 26 overall at 12th in class. But race number two times the length, plenty more opportunities. Although it did start off on a bit of a rough note, race number two.
Yeah, I think I'm just watching on YouTube as well, having it in the background. There's a final chicane. That's what happened now, and that's what I think was the first spin I had. Unfortunately, that just looked like a racing incident. I'm not going to apportion blame. It just later on the brakes, and I just got tagged around. I was fighting through the field, and it was all right. And yeah, just that happened, unfortunately. So it is what it is, and just kind of got your head back down. They weren't too far ahead of me, so just putting the laps and just make the best of it. It's a half-hour race, so I still had plenty of time to get back up through the field, and which I did, which is pretty cool.
Oh, 100%. And on that, we did see you make some very good progress as the race went on. I mean, were you keeping track of exactly where you were? 'Cause you now know you finished in fifth place, like you mentioned at the very end. But were you sort of thinking to yourself, right, I'm at the back, Sonny, I'm 10th now, I'm 9th, 8th, 7th, 6th? Or will you just take the places as they come?
Just take it as they come. I make a conscious effort to just turn off all the HUDs and just drive. If I get a blue flag, it will tell me on the screen, but I just switch off all the heads-up display and switch off the relative. I just go driving. And I just race until when I'm told to stop, basically.
Oh, I love that mentality. And to be fair, the right mentality to have. Well, in the end, you definitely delivered a very strong recovery to fifth place. A great end today. Now we just need a better start today. So,
Yeah.
looking ahead to our next round, the Hockenheimring's National Circuit. What can we expect from you there?
Hopefully the same here. I mean, Hockenheim is a very fast-flowing circuit, same as a couple of parts of quite a few parts of the circuit here as well. So I think the cars will like it, and yeah, just maybe improve on qualifying a little bit, but I'm not going to hold myself to that. Let's see what happens, and hopefully some more good fighting and some less unfortunate incidents.
Oh, 100%. We definitely want to see you getting up there, mixing up with the very best in the AM class. You've clearly got the pace to be able to get on that podium. But just before we do let you go, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out or a thank you to on this broadcast?
Of course, oNiD Racing, who we're collaborating with you guys over at TSRC, so it's always a pleasure to do so, and also to Ben 22 Racing. I think he's been in chat, Down Computers, Go for the Gap, Racing Stronger. And I think that's all our sponsors. Coach Dave Academy as well, and SimGridders too. Good shout out to them. And yeah, if you want to come and get involved, do so. We've got some collaborations with you guys for LMU as well. So I believe there's still some space for that league. So head on to SimGrid, have a look, and yeah, thank you, and just thank you very much for hosting. It's been a pleasure.
Well, Aidan, it's been an absolute pleasure having you not just join me in the interview room to be our first interview of the season, but also to see you really fight back in the feature race and deliver the spirit we love to see on the Sim Racing Collective and the oNiD grids. We look forward to seeing you back on the grid in a week's time at the Hockenheim Ring to see whether you can make it a double top 5 at the minimum. But until then, have a wonderful rest of your evening.
Thanks, Paul. Take care, everyone.
So hearing there from Aidan Howard, ladies and gentlemen, for oNiD Community Racing, and well, a story of two halves. But before that, mention the fact this really is his first proper exposure to the GR86 Cup car and has been learning about it, really the momentum-based nature of the car, and we got to see plenty of that today. But qualifying, definitely had to write off qualifying. Not the best performances, starting at 26th overall, so that's what he wants to work on, although don't hold into it for the Hockenheim Ring. The sprint race, well, it all went a bit backwards before it went in the right direction. So therefore, the sprint had to be written off as well. But in the feature, whilst he did have that early spin, as we did see in the replay footage, after that, he kept his head down and kept pushing. And he gradually made his way up through the field, didn't give up, turned off all his HUDs, turned off all the information, just said, tell me when the race has ended. Until then, I'm just going to keep picking off the paces and pushing. And by doing so, well, a 5th place now, 18th overall for Aidan Howard. Well, if he can do that again and have a much luckier day when it comes to instance in Germany, I suspect we're definitely going to be seeing some more top 5s out of him, perhaps even a podium sooner rather than later. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back very shortly for our second interview of the day. And so, ladies and gentlemen, we now come to our second interview of the day. He took pole, he also took the win in race number 1. But unfortunately, race number 2 saw plenty get undone. It is none other than Kyle Morby who joins me now. Kyle, good evening to you. What a mixed day you've had. I mean, qualifying and sprint race, you must have felt like you're on top of the world, but you're brought in a way crashing down to earth with a feature race. How are you feeling about it?
Annoyed. Just, it had to happen. It was going too well.
Oh, fair play. Well, let's not talk about the negatives. Let's talk plenty about the positives. But before we come into today, just out of curiosity, what's your experience with the GR86 Cup car on iRacing before this series?
It was a little bit of production car challenge is the main sort of use of it. It's just quite a fun category to drive in, hence why I thought I'd give this league a go. It's just quite an enjoyable car to drive, to be honest.
And one of our rapid pro drivers out there, I have to ask, what do you think is the key to this car? Because you're definitely one of the quickest out there based on racing today.
It's just so easy to overdrive, I think, is the problem with the cars. As soon as you start pushing too much, you'll trigger in ABS more, or you're just ever so slightly getting traction control to kick in, and as soon as it does that, it just saps all the power, and you just lose so much speed. They're very delicate things to drive.
I see. Well, delicate car to drive, but to be fair, here today, you definitely proved that when you need to be delicate but rough with it as well, you're able to get the job done, qualifying pole position in the end, and got it done right at the end of the session. You must have been grinning about that one.
Yeah, I was getting a bit nervous because the first 2 laps I had some off track, so they were invalid. So there was a bit more in that lap as well. I had to back out of the first chicane again because I didn't want to invalidate. So there, it was a surprise. I didn't think I'd get pole with that lap, to be honest with you, but I'm happy I did.
Oh, most definitely. I mean, even if that wasn't 100% of your best, it was very close to it, no doubt about it. And the fact that you took that pole and were happy with it, and that translated into the sprint. Although the sprint race, it really was about you and Kieran Sharp going back and forth for the whole race distance.
Yeah, it was a very good battle with Kieran. it was no point defending midway through the race. Else would have just gone back into the pack a little bit. I was hoping we could sort of drive away, and I think I did get helped by the timing of a back marker. It did give me a nice tow towards the end, just to help get that gap. But yeah, it was a really good race with Kieran. Very enjoyable. Shame about the second feature race, but I enjoyed that one.
Now, whilst we perhaps won't go in too much detail about what went wrong in the feature race, let's talk about the positive part of it. You're sent all the way to the back of the field, but you fought your way back up, passing through the AM drives and also some pros along the way. I mean, you never gave up.
No, I thought at that point I was like, I've just got to enjoy it. It's like I said, fun to drive. The track's quite good. It's a bit tricky for racing at times. The last sector's obviously very tight, which is where the incident happened earlier on in the race. But it is what it is at the end of the day. I still enjoyed it. That's the main thing.
Well, that's what it's all about, enjoying yourself out there, and you most definitely did. And you gave us plenty of entertainment to talk about here in the Conte booth. But that's round number 1 in the bag, a win and a pole position, definitely the key ports of your day. Can you do it all again at the Hockenheimring?
We will see. I've got to buy the track first because I haven't been on it yet. I'd like to think so. I do like Hockenheim. It is a very good track. Again, tight and twisty. Similar sections to Catalunya, but yeah, it is a very good track. Obviously, this is on other games I've played it on, so I know iRacing likes to throw a few challenges in, so we'll see how we get on.
Oh, fair play. Well, we look forward to seeing how you get on in a week's time in round number 2. But just before we let you go, I do have to ask, is there anyone that you'd like to give a shout out or a mention to live on the broadcast?
Yeah, definitely Kieran, obviously organising the league. Again, this is the first league I've ever done. And so far it's been run fantastically. And yeah, top class battle as well in the first race. I really did enjoy that.
Well, Carl, we appreciate you taking the time to join me for a post-round interview. Congratulations on the absolutely epic pole lap and the win in the sprint race. Sorry that it didn't go quite right in the feature, but to be fair, the recovery drive was brilliant, and we know there's plenty more out there for yourself at the Hockenheimring. So until then, congratulations on your results today, and have a wonderful rest of your evening.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Paul. Have a good one.
So here and there, ladies and gentlemen, from Cole Morby, and well, understandably, you could hear it in his voice as soon as we started to talk to him in the interview. A little bit of frustration, perhaps, but the flip side of the coin being there were plenty of positives out there. Until now, his exposure to the Cup car before coming into this series, it had been his first league and series. Absolutely fantastic to hear that he's breaking his duck with a sim racing league, with the sim racing collective, with oNiD GR Cup, and well, his previous exposure being the production car challenge. But really learn about the nature of this car and really find it's a delicate car. I've never heard anybody describe the GR86 as delicate, but you can see why. The fact that we are running traction control and ABS, and as soon as you trigger those systems, it completely kills the power to the car if it's traction control, or indeed it really weakens the braking in the car and causes it to understeer if it's ABS. So therefore you don't want to touch those wherever possible. And in qualifying, in the end, had to turn himself down a notch because he had invalidated previous laps. As you do see him here pushing a little bit too hard, making his way around, but sometimes you've got to be pushing it to a limit in order to be able to find the limit. But he found that pole position, and in the sprint race, back and forth with Kieran Sharp, respectful race, and he commended it, and he was definitely very complimentary of his rival. The feature race, unfortunately, an open lap instant, as he mentioned there, when it's that tight at a circuit like this, it's always going to go wrong for somebody, and unfortunately happened to be him, but he didn't give up, fought his way back through the field to a 12th place finish, got some solid points on the board, and most importantly, made sure that with that he's building momentum going to the Hockenheimring, a circuit he has raced on previous simulators but not iRacing, so there's going to be some practice needed. But could Cole Moore be one of our early favourites? Well, we've got to wait, ladies and gentlemen, because of course we've still got plenty more rounds to come. But with that, we've got a couple more interviews to come, and we are going to be making our way back to the AM class very shortly, I believe. And so, ladies and gentlemen, for our third interview of the day, we come to none other than Yuri Shura, who now joins me in the interview room. Yuri, good evening to you. What a challenging day for yourself today. Podium in the sprint race, plus, of course, third place in qualifying. The feature race, a little bit of a messy race by comparison, but still an 8th place in the AM class. So some solid points, but something tells me you wanted a double podium today.
I didn't even know what my position was in my class. I just saw the overall result. Yeah, it was a bit of a sketchy race, some trouble at the start, but just kept on going, and I think we got a decent result for what happened in the race.
Oh, most definitely. But if we wind it all the way back, a question I've been asking other interviewees, how much have you driven the GR86 previously? Is this your first time driving it, or have you raced it before?
I raced it before a bit in the iRacing series, but never really in a league or anything. So yeah, it's been a while since I've driven the GR.
Oh, fair play. So perhaps a little bit rusty, but getting yourself back to grips with it very quickly. What do you feel you've had to relearn or focus on to get up to speed in the car?
It all went quite quickly, honestly. Just do a couple of laps, and yeah, quickly you're on the limit of what you can do. So yeah, I just jumped in the race, and we got results.
Oh, indeed, results coming through. But before the racing, qualifying, 14th overall, were you happy with your lap?
Um, the qualifying lap was better than I expected. I think it was a 20.6 in qualifying, and on average on practice I was doing like 20.7, so it was a good qualifying lap.
Oh, fair play. A good qualifying lap. And then in race number 1, we saw you constantly batting for what was in the end the AM podium, although you may not have been aware of it. But it looked very back and forth between yourself. And I do believe the main driver you've ended up battling with in that race was none other than, if I remember correctly, it may have been Bart Raven.
Yeah, not sure what happened. I just did my laps and brought it to the finish, and that was basically it.
Well, a solid podium in the AM class, and then the feature race, it went a bit wrong early on.
Yeah, it got a little bit squeezed. I was like right on the curb, and yeah, I spun another car, and yeah, it ended up in a double crash, which gave me a meatball. I had to go to the pits, and after that it was like 20 laps of boredom. And yeah, then I caught up to a little group and made up 2 places, and even for second to last corner overtake for 21st position overall, I believe.
Oh, indeed, most definitely. 21st was where you finished at the end there, or 8th in the AM class. And some solid points from today. Hockenheim's next. What can we expect from you in round 2?
Hope to do better. Let's see if we can get some more podiums in M class, and yeah, maybe aim for top 10 overall. We'll see how it goes.
Oh, I like the sound of that. We'll hold you to that, Yuri. But just before we do let you go, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out or a mention to on the broadcast?
To the TSRC and oNiD team for hosting this. Like, we haven't been able to do iRacing on oNiD for a while, so this collaboration, yeah, it's really great. So we can get some nice iRacing leagues again.
Oh, most definitely. I mean, we're so happy to have yourself and the oNiD team collaborating with us on this series here at the Sim Racing Collective. And the fact you've given it all today really does show your racing enthusiasm. With that, we'll leave it there. Congratulations on the podium in the AM class in the sprint. And, well, good job on the recovery in the feature race. We look forward to seeing what you can do in Germany in a week's time. But until then, have a wonderful rest of your evening.
You too. Bye bye.
So here and there, ladies and gentlemen, from Yuri Schurrer, the Dutchman today, who definitely didn't know where he was in relation to his AM peers. Mentioned he only focused on overall positions, but come the end of it all, figuring out now he's taken the podium and also an 8th place in class, we can definitely tell that I think he suddenly realised, hold on a second, actually this hasn't been a bad day. Yes, it did go wrong in the feature race, and mentioned there about the fact that double contact in the end, so I'm having to come into the pits for repair work, and it was 20 laps of going around by himself and just simply hot lapping until he did find some company towards the end of the race. But the flip side of the coin being as well, the fact that he did get to pick up some places right at the end, so never giving up, keeping your head down, and that's exactly what Yuri Schurrer was all about in the feature. And then the sprint race enjoyed a brilliant battle with Bart Raven. Unfortunately, it didn't quite work out in the end to take the 2nd place spot, but he was always there and an ever-present threat. But he's looking for top 10s overall, plus also more AM podiums. I like that motivation, and well, I wonder if in Germany he may be able to get those podiums that he's looking for. But in terms of interviews we're looking for, ladies and gentlemen, we've been able to find absolutely brilliant candidate for our final interview of the day. So without further ado, we're going to step away, but we'll be back very shortly for our final interview of round number 1. And so, ladies and gentlemen, for our final interview of the day, joining me now in the interview room, I do believe is none other than Harry Mason. Harry, good evening to you, and what a day has been for yourself in the AM class. On the one hand, a sprint race to be remembered for all the right reasons. On the other, a feature race where the car was a bit bruised, but not quite broken. How have you come out of this round feeling, good sir?
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me in. Yeah, no, it's been a great first race. I think the sprint race was yeah, one of my proudest moments. But yeah, coming into the feature race, it was the car was a little bit dinged up, a little bit of wheel damage that was causing me a little bit of trouble throughout the race, and it ended up causing me into a penalty, which kind of put a stopper to the double podium I was hoping for.
Oh, indeed. A bit of a frustrating feature race, but let's dial it back like we have with our other interviews this evening. The GR86 can be a very popular car on iRacing. Have you raced it much before, or is this really your first exposure to it?
Yeah, no, so this was my starter car. I kind of skipped over the MX-5s, and any race that I did when I first started playing iRacing was through the GR86, so I have a bit of affinity with it. It's one of my favourite cars on the game, although maybe not my fastest now, that I've moved up the ranks a little bit.
Oh, fair play. Well, definitely affinity there, and the fact it's where you really started your iRacing campaign, which is brilliant. Now, in terms of going into today's racing, qualifying 21st overall and 7th place in the AM class, something tells me perhaps that wasn't your finest qualifying lap.
No, I had coming into the 3rd lap, just overshot T1, kind of took away my chance to put in that 3rd and final flying lap. I think the pace was starting to pick up through the first 2, but yeah, just unable to capitalise and put it any higher up on the grid, unfortunately.
Now, it may have been unfortunate there, but the flip side of the coin being, it meant that you would go on to deliver an absolutely standout sprint race. I mean, you were picking up places left, right and centre at the start.
Yeah, I think that one, I think I got lucky that the lads ahead had a bit of a ding-dong in turn 1. I managed to just scoot up the inside and avoid any getting tangled up in it. And then, yeah, it was just a case of keeping the pace, keeping the consistency, chasing down, I believe it was Bart who was leading the race at the time. Just, yeah, keep taking away those temps, knowing that a chance and opportunity would come later on in the race.
And one opportunity did arise. I mean, by that point, did you identify what was the best place to go for an overtake, or was it just get to the inside and pray?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those tracks, isn't it? You're getting down into turn 1, everyone's going to cover the inside, and if you can get around the outside at turn 1, you've got the inside line up the kink, and that was where I was trying to get it done. But obviously, it is such a difficult corner to go around the outside at turn 1 and hold the pace. So that's where I was trying it most, trying to get. When I was getting the run out the final corner, I'd have a look at T1, but up the inside. But most of the time, it's covered off, not able to do much about it.
Well, a bit of a challenging circuit, no doubt about it. Overtakes, and really appreciate the insight with regards to how you can potentially make moves here. Going into the feature race then, I mean, you started where you finished from the sprint because Noam was inside the top 10, but it went a little bit wrong early on in the race.
Yeah, I think the first few corners went quite well. Everyone kept it clean, a little bit of door banging, but it was coming down into the final chicane. I think one of my teammates, James, in the pro class, had a spin, and I didn't really have time to get out of the way. So I've, like I said, knocked the wheel, given myself a little bit of interior damage. And then from there, just trying to fight the car around the first few laps with quite a lot of incident points already at that point, and it was just a case of sort of trying not to keep running off track as much as the car was fighting me. But I succumbed to it in the end. I think with about 10, 12 laps to go, or maybe 8 laps to go, picked up that final penalty, which forced me into the pits for that drive-through, which inevitably then put me a little bit further down and just out of touch of the lead pack.
Well, fair play. It was unfortunate, but the fact that you were able to try and struggle on with a damaged car, credit to yourself. And in the end, taking 6th place in the AM class. I mean, in a way, a very solid set of points to back up your win in the sprint race. I mean, you must be feeling silently confident now that if you can do this in round 1 with a damaged car in the feature race, that the Hockenheim ring, double podiums have got to be possible.
Well, that's going to be the hope looking forward. Hockenheim Ring's not a track that I own currently, so I've not actually done many laps on it since probably F1 16. So it's just going to be a case of this week just getting some laps in, working out the track, and coming next week ready to put a challenge up to the lads at 1, especially with Gareth obviously taking the feature race win. So yeah, just try and keep up with them. And then, try and hopefully steal a feature race win next week, and then I can have one of each in my belt.
Oh, indeed. And we look forward to seeing whether you can make that magic happen. But just before we do let you go, I have to ask, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out or a mention to live on the broadcast?
Yeah, I've got to big up the dogs. Woof, woof. A lot of the lads in the race today, I think there's 4 or 5 of us. Everyone had a really good stint. Well, I mean, some of them had less of a good race. But no, yeah, big up to the boys. They're all good lads, and we'll hopefully see them on the podiums and in the interviews over the coming weeks.
Oh, fantastic. Well, I'll tell you one thing. You guys have been absolutely barking brilliant today. And, well, as I make probably a few bit of the audience there cringe slightly, the dad jokes come out from me. I can tell you, Harry, it's been a blast having you in the interior in this evening. Congratulations on the win in the AM class in the sprint, and what's a consolidation of some good points in the feature. We look forward to plenty more in Germany. But until then, have a wonderful rest of the evening.
Thank you very much. See you later.
So here and there, ladies and gentlemen, from Harry Mason, our final interview. I do love the spirit behind him there and really taking everything in his stride. Although very interesting there, and talking about the fact that the Toyota GR86 really was his entry point into iRacing. There are multiple entry points in the Rookie Series, this car being a free vehicle in iRacing. You do not have to pay for it, and indeed forms one of the many Rookie Series, the others being the MX-5s, and alternatively you have the Formula Ford FF1600. But he skipped the MX-5s, went straight to this car, and well, it really is a car that is part of his journey. Whilst he's moving on to other things, well, you never lose the spirit of the car that you race first with, and it showed today. Qualifying, however, was not a happy session. In the end, there was more time out there, but he couldn't quite get it to click together, so he had to do the work in the sprint, but he made up the place. And talking about there the fact, so many switchback sequences, but this runner turns 1 through to 3 is where he wanted to get the moves done, to go around the outside to get the inside of 2. That's where the moves seemed to be magically possible. Although battling with Bart Raven, it wasn't easy to get that place off him, but he did in the end. The feature race, unfortunately, early contact meant that his steering was damaged towards the front. He tried to survive it, but picked up a drive-through penalty right towards the end, and that did relegate him back from a top 5 finish. But his target is going to be a double podium, and at least taking a win in the feature race next time out to make sure he's got one of each. And he's promised us that the dogs, as a team, there's plenty of them here, and we'll get to see what will be the wolf pack of them on the podium at some point, and we'll get to have some more interviews with different drivers on the Dogs team. But definitely one of our formidable groups out there, and we look forward to seeing plenty more from Harry and the Dogs as they make their way into round number 2 at the Hockenheim Ring. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, well, that is the conclusion of our first set of interviews for this season. A big thank you to all of our drivers, but who exactly did we have for interview? Well, let's give you a quick reminder. Firstly, of course, we had a wonderful chat to Aidan Howard from the AM class, the oNiD community racing driver, and I do believe a highly decorated broadcaster and commentator for the oNiD racing community. And we're very happy to have him join us in the interview room and indeed talk about what was the frustrations perhaps of qualifying and race number 1, but also the never give up spirit that earned him a 5th place in the AM class in race number 2. Then we came to the pro class to Kyle Morby, talking about the contrasting fortunes of the overall pole and the race 1 win in his battle with Kieran Sharp, but the flip side of the coin being, of course, the difficult race number 2 that saw things fall to pieces, and in the end he was able to pick things up right at the very end. Then we came to Yuri Scherer in the AM class, the Dutchman, talking about what was a very solid day, although focused on overall position, didn't know which drivers he was battling with for class position until the very end, and earned himself a podium and an 8th place in the AM class, some solid points. And then we just come away from speaking to Harry Mason in the AM class as well, and in the end his story was all about finding his feet after a difficult qualifying session, but he did so to take the first AM win of the season, but then unfortunately battling against a damaged car, and the damaged car getting the slight upper hand towards the end of the day and spoiling a chance of a double podium or at least a double top 5. But a huge thank you to all 4 of our interviewees, and well, we look forward to plenty more interviews as the season goes on. With that, ladies and gentlemen, of course, it's now time for us to wrap up. Thank you very much for watching, and if you're sat there right now having watched today's broadcast and thinking to yourself, you know what, I've really enjoyed this, I want to know more about the Sim Racing Collective or the oNiD community racing, well, we do recommend you head to the official websites of both communities. Firstly, of course, we have the Sim Racing Collective website that may be found at www.tsrc.club, and that website is on screen. It's the home of all things the Sim Racing Collective, and the beating heart of the community is right in the centre. Join the official Discord and you'll be right there. However, if you look to the left, you've got all of our socials there. The SimGrid page, our Twitter, or X as it's modernly known, also our Instagram, our YouTube, which you're catching this broadcast on, our Twitch, and also another link to our Discord there. At the bottom, we've got our partners and affiliates that do include the SimGrid, Coach Dave Academy, and also Abruzzi and Tam Livery. And the very top as well, you've got links to all of our news and our latest rules and regulations if you fancy being on the grid with us. And on top of that as well, we must also, of course, in the series is in collaboration with the oNiD community racing group. Well, we do give a big shout out to them, and if you want to know more about oNiD, do head to their official website, and that's at www.onidracing.com. Their website, here it is, and indeed a very clean and easy to navigate website, and as they do look to expand their repertoire to iRacing once again, well, there's never been a better time to join the oNiD racing community that hosts series not just on iRacing, but also on likes of Assetto Corsa Competizione, and indeed I do believe those screenshots on the homepage from that sim racing title, and we're very happy to be working with oNiD Racing, of course, as part of this collaboration for this series. But also at this point, we would like to say a big thank you to our partners and affiliates, who do include Tam Livery, SimGrid, Coach Dave Academy, Abruzzi Simulation and Motorsport, and also we must give a shout out to Motorsport UK's esports division for recognising us here at the Sim Racing Collective as a recommended community. We're very grateful for that recognition, and long may it continue as we go deeper and deeper into 2026 and onwards. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, onwards we must go. Round number 1's been full of excitement, no doubt about it, but next time out in round number 2 on Monday the 13th of April, we make our way from Spain to Germany, and the Hockenheimring Baden-Württemberg's National A circuit will play host to our GR86 Cup cars. It's going to be tight, it's going to be fierce, it's going to be ferocious, and it's going to be another highly technical circuit which our drivers will do battle in their 2.4 litre powered machines. But what exactly have we seen today? Well, we've seen some very big names at the very front of the field, of course. In the pro class, we have seen that the likes of what has been none other than, I do believe, Kieran O'Reilly and Sarah Dove. They've enjoyed little worries further back at the back end of the top 10. But at the very front of that top 10, we have seen some very fierce and feisty names that do include Cole Morby, also Kieran Sharp, Jamie Nuttall, Craig Twardock, but nobody has asserted themselves as an early favourite after the opening round. And in the AM class, the same could be said there, with Gareth Ronda taking one of the wins and none other than Harry Mason taking the other win. And therefore it does mean in the Hockenheimring, it could be all to play for once again, and it could all be turned upside down. But you'll have to tune in on Monday the 13th of April to see how the story continues. But until then, this has been the Sim Racing Collective in collaboration with oNiD GR Cup Series and iRacing. I've been your host and commentator, Paul Walsh. You've been tuning into a Paul Walsh production. And until next time, remember to stay safe, stay well, stay smiling, and most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, remember to stay on track. Good night.